Welcome back, Gaming Outsider listeners. This week, Zack CB and I are celebrating the release of Dead Space by taking a closer look at the sci-fi genre and sharing some of our favorite titles that fall into that category. In news, China no longer has the ability to play World of Warcraft, and finally you'll hear our early impressions of the Dead Space remake, and David stops by to talk to us about Spongebob Squarepants' Cosmic Shake. This is the Gaming Outsider. Greetings, programs, and welcome to The Gaming Outsider, a video game podcast with a focus on our incredible community, which can be found at thegamingoutsider.com. It's Sunday, January 29th. I'm your host, Scott Clark, and joining me, as always, are my friends. First off, Mr. Zach Parkerson. What's up, man?
Well, hey, man. Happy to be here yet again. We can't stay away from each other lately.
I know. I'm kind of digging it. I love it. It's like the only time I really get to talk to you each week. I mean, I see CB all the time.
Well, I try to text you, and then sometimes you just misread all of my texts, so, it's just...
Well, you do have an early weird schedule, and I'm still waking up sometimes when I'm texting you. But also joining us, first time in a while, just because he's been off, is CB, Chris Behrensmeyer. What's up, man?
Yeah, man. I'm still alive. I exist. I'm around.
Yeah, man. Good to have you back, man. It's been a while. I'm sure you got quite a list to catch up on. In fact, why don't we go ahead and jump right into it? What have you been playing in terms of older games, not brand new stuff?
Oh, God, what haven't I been playing? First off, checked out the GoldenEye on the Xbox.
Yes, so did I.
It feels weird to be playing GoldenEye on an Xbox, but it does look pretty good.
So the Xbox One does not have multiplayer, and the Switch one does, right? Is that the difference?
It has multiplayer, but it does not have online multiplayer.
That's what, yeah.
So you can still play 4-player local co-op, but...
Okay.
But the downside of the Switch is that the Switch controls are terrible because they didn't update the controls at all. So it's still that. Remember how like you had to I changed the structure when I was a kid to where like you moved around and strafed with the yellow buttons,
right?
But they've not updated the controls like they did for the Xbox version. So there's not one spot where you get the best of both worlds.
Is the Switch version also through their emulator?
Well, you mean Nintendo Switch Online?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Xbox, no, it's just right there, straight out front.
I bet it's cool. I bet it plays well.
It is, and it's
smooth.
Weird playing that game with two sticks because I definitely did not play that game with two sticks when I was a kid.
Yeah,
so
it's all right. I didn't mean to cut you off. It's just that's like a transformative experience for GoldenEye.
Mm-hmm.
You feel 1,000 times more accurate.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, oh, look at me go with the pistol. That's it. Oh, that's all I need.
Did you have the same feeling I did, CB? Like, I remember these levels feeling a lot longer. Like,
well, that's because of the controls, because it was so clunky moving, and it took forever to aim anywhere.
Right.
That by the time you're doing that like it added so much length to the game. But when I'm finishing the first level of the dam in like less than 4 minutes.
Yeah, it's
like,
crazy.
This is bizarre. So
and that is like the most iconic and memorable one too. Like, when you jump off the dam, he just kind of like jumps off, even though he actually like bungeed in the movie. But that's like one of the most iconic levels, and it's less than 5 minutes long. It's just kind of nuts to me.
Yeah, so I'm having fun with it.
I remember. I love the that level in the snow where you have to go to the different satellite stations. That's an awesome level.
Mm-hmm. That is the first time you were introduced to the Clob weapon.
Yes,
which is awful. That weapon still sucks. Sorry, Ken Lob, but
great name though, Clob.
Yeah, that is a great name. I'm having fun with it, but like I said, it's pretty short. I think I played through like a quarter of the game in like an hour. Like it's blowing my mind how short these levels are. Like remember the one level with a giant computer screen and you have to like copy the GoldenEye key? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It's like the fourth or fifth level maybe. I remember that just being this super complicated, complex level. That is seriously like 4 rooms. The entire level is just very, very small.
How old were you when GoldenEye came out?
Was that 96?
96 or 97.
96, 97, so I'd have been like 16, 17.
Oh, okay. Because I was like 6 or 7, so I remember it taking forever to beat the game, but I was also a dumb child.
Right.
It's just,
I
guess
man.
it's...
Again,
yeah, you were on the same level as a 6-year-old. That's all I'm saying.
I know. I mean, keep kicking me while I'm down. I appreciate it.
Again, though, there was a lot of enemies in that level, and it took forever to aim.
Well, and to be fair, I did try to beat that game on 007 difficulty, which is ridiculous. Right. Those enemies never stop coming if you trigger even one alarm.
In the original release, in order to fine-tune your aim, you had to stop, right? And hold down a shoulder button.
Yep.
And aim, yeah. So that would have already like quadrupled your level time right there.
Oh my God, you're right. I did not even remember that. You couldn't.
That's what I'm saying. Like, the fact that we have the twin sticks and you can aim on the fly is insane.
So you really were just playing like a Doom game originally.
Because it was vertical. Slower than Doom.
Right.
I understand that, but I'm talking about in terms of like aiming. There was no up and down aiming while you were playing.
Yes, you had to fine tune it, right? So you just had to like stop and play Virtua Cop every few steps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's crazy. No wonder I'm just like destroying everybody now.
Well, yeah, you could shoot from the hip in the original game, but it wasn't that, you didn't want to rely on that.
Right. Yeah, man, I'm totally having flashbacks of playing that now, and I kind of want to do like the 4-player.
Oh yeah.
In person where we put up cardboard.
Yeah.
Tape it to
Don't look at my screen.
Don't look at my screen. That was the way to do it. So many. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
GoldenEye. Oh, and here's the thing with the Nintendo Switch version. I've not done this myself, but I have been told, or somebody posted on Discord, a link to this. In order to make the controls playable on the Switch version, there is a workaround, but get this. You have to not only change the settings in the game to something goofy. Well, you have to use a Pro Controller, first off, for obvious reasons. But use a Pro Controller. You have to change a game settings in the game, and you also have to make a settings change in the Switch itself in order to be able to make it. Like, why couldn't that just have been done? I don't know.
It's Nintendo, baby. That's what they do.
And it does not look nearly as bad as I expected it to look. I understand I'm not playing it on a CRT screen or a tube TV like it was when I was a kid. And, it's up-res.
Yeah, but at the same time on a CRT TV, like, because it was curved and it bended some of those hard lines, it still looks better on a CRT.
It just cracks me up, like how the faces are just completely flat, but they're made to look like they have depth.
Yep.
Or the snow level that Zach was talking about. It's just the outside border is just a flat line of trees that have no thickness to them at all, but it's meant to give the illusion that there's like a forest behind it, and there clearly isn't. I don't know. I'm noticing things that I just never noticed when I was a kid, like just the pieces of the environment that are stuck together where you can see the seams as you run past them. They kind of like flash.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Those
because
things
you're being
that
more analytical now that you're older.
I don't even know if it's that I'm just being analytical. I just think I guess that's what I notice things more often means.
Well, I think
I'm being more analytical.
And back when graphics were just like that, your imagination was already filling in the blanks to make it more real in your brain anyway. So our brains were just trained not to notice those things.
Right.
But now because we've seen the advancement, it's hard to look back.
Yeah. Anyway, what else you been playing?
Speaking of looking back, I played another old game, Singularity.
Dude,
on the Steam Deck.
Have you been listening to our podcast and it inspired you? We really talked about Singularity quite a bit last week.
Oh, it's mostly because Scott was like, "Hey, I bought Singularity on my Steam Deck. You want to play it?" I'm like, sure.
Well, Steve has my Steam
Deck. I have
a
Steam Deck right now.
Still.
Man. The Steam Deck is not good for certain games.
Well, that one is not optimized for Steam Deck for sure.
No. It plays like a hot pile of trash. And it's because the little touchpad is how you have to aim.
No.
Oh, dude, it's horrible. So you're sitting here like strafing around and you're trying to aim, and like if your thumb slips a little bit on this little 1.5 inch by 1.5 inch square, it literally just like launches the cursor to the corner.
Yeah.
I'm like,
so I promptly returned that game while I still had my under 2 hour limit. got my money back because I did not realize it was not going to play on the Steam Deck. But
So CB reported back, and then you asked for a refund.
Yeah.
yes,
Is that how Steam purchases work for you now? You just buy a game, and CB lets you know whether or not you should keep it because you'll get your Steam Deck probably back next year. I would assume.
Right. Well, I had to. You have a certain time limit that you have before you can't refund it anymore.
2 hours.
And I don't want to waste. Well, 2 hours of gameplay, but I think there's also a window that you have to get it back, and I wanted to and I couldn't remember what it was, so I wanted to make sure I got my refund so that I could put it towards something else. But CB, correct me if I'm wrong. You did find a physical copy.
Oh yeah,
on 360. So
yeah, it just got here yesterday.
Yeah, I feel like I want to go back into that. I don't even remember if I still have a 360.
It's okay. I have you covered. I have plenty.
Just borrow a 360.
When you text, you're like, I don't know if I have a 360, and I looked around the game room. I'm like, oh my god, there's 4 of them in here.
But yeah, to answer your question, Zach, that's what's going to happen. I'm going to buy a Steam game, tell him to check it out, make sure it works, and then if it doesn't, then I return it. I mean, that's like the second Steam game I've ever returned in my entire life. So it's
no, I'm not shaming you for that. I was trying to shame CB into giving you your Steam Deck back.
Oh yeah. Well, good luck with that.
Go ahead, man. Take it.
Let's see. So far, he's played Desk Job Simulator and 45 minutes of Singularity. So it's
because
a good
you
thing.
won't let me buy other games.
What do you want to buy?
I don't. You know what? Fine. When we get done today, I'm gonna go look through there because there's some other games.
You know, Control is on there. You can try Control and see what it's like to play that on there.
I don't want to tarnish that game's good name.
Well, that one is actually optimized for Steam, so it's going to work.
Okay. Well, I'll check that out.
Okay.
I love that game.
Moving on.
Brawl Chess.
Is that just battle chess?
Yeah, battle chess. I had a hankering to play some chess. It's not a bad game.
You had a hankering to get some more achievement points.
Well, I already owned this one.
Oh, okay.
So I just hadn't gone through and got all the achievement points. So I went through, cleaned it up, played about 20 games of chess, and finished that one up. It's not a bad game. I think you get it for like under $5. It's a fun little one. So,
okay.
But for achievements, this one I want to see you play, Scott.
Okay.
Happy Basude.
Basude? What is Basude?
I have no idea.
Okay. Why do you want to see me play this?
It is okay. Do you remember the original Mario Brothers?
No, what's that?
The original, not Super Mario Brothers, but Mario Brothers.
Yes, he's
Oh, you talking about the one with the turtles and the pipes and the little POW block in the middle? No,
yes.
Never heard of it.
I'm gonna punch you in the mouth.
Is that the one with Chris Pratt? Is he in that game?
I hate you both. Okay, well, single fixed screen game. You have to beat the level. There are
Imagine that.
9 levels. But here's the thing.
Do you have to beat all 9 of them?
To complete the game, but this game this game has a different way of beating the game.
Okay.
You can't collect any coins and you can't kill anything.
All right.
So you have to survive for 150 seconds.
Coins are death traps now.
No, they're not death traps. They give you bad karma.
Oh.
And so if you acquire bad karma and you die, you have to keep repeating the level.
Well, how do you clear the stage? Because even in
You
Mario
just have
Brothers,
to
you still
survive.
have to kill the turtles.
Nope,
You still have to kill the turtles.
Yeah, he's saying that's not the case in this game. It sounds like you just have to live for 2.5 minutes.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Oh, that sounds awful.
It's but you're
That's
the one
why you
who's
want me
like,
to play it.
I'm so much better at platformers than you. Blah 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 blah. I want to see you beat this game.
Well, this is like an anti-platformer.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you still have to platform around, just not get hit or collect coins.
That sounds miserable,
weird.
man.
It doesn't sound miserable to me. It sounds something a little different, but I don't know if it's going to test anybody's platforming skills. I think it's a different skill set.
Oh, I don't know. There's a couple of them There's a couple of levels that you have to get pretty inventive on navigating through.
Right.
So I just want to see you take a crack at it, because
Did you get all the achievements?
I did. Just because I have a feeling this will be another Scott Clark Dragon Slayer moment.
Oh, yeah, that's not happening then. That's all I had to say.
No. I want to see you do it, because
No.
it's an NES stylized 8-bit game. I just want to see you try.
It's on Xbox?
It is.
All right.
I already bought it, so you don't have to pay for it. It was a whole $1.99.
I'll definitely give it a shot.
Oh, you should.
His gift to you.
Zach, what about you?
Well, first of all, I need to preface. I am some kind of under the weather. So if I stutter or anything, to the listeners, if I stutter or sound weird or anything, that's why. We're all dying out here.
Hope you feel better, man.
But I'm not dying in the Old West, because I cannot stop playing Red Dead Redemption 2.
I'm still so shocked.
Which I don't know if CB's been listening to the episodes, but I have. I couldn't be more turned around about Red Dead Redemption 2. I'm playing it constantly.
I still can't believe it.
I mean,
we crapped on that game so much
for almost a half decade.
Yeah.
And yeah, you know what? I apologize to all those Red Deaders out there. Cause dude, I can't stop. I'm talking like a cowboy and stuff. I worked the other day. I accidentally greeted somebody with "There he is," which is how Arthur Morgan greets people in camp.
Oh my gosh!
And I, without even thinking about it, I felt like such a a-hole. But yeah, man, I can't stop. I'm loving it, and I know. I'm approaching the story more like it's a novel. Like it's just taking its time, but you can see where the seeds are being planted, and I don't know. There's something fascinating about the camp and the way that every other character seems to be having their own story, and you guys are just kind of intersecting, which is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Yeah, man, I'm turned around. I'm gonna keep playing this.
Tahiti.
That's fascinating.
What's that, CB?
Tahiti.
Yeah, Tahiti. Not as mentioned as much as you would think from our mockery.
Oh god! But just wait.
I mean, there's a lot of discussion of faith in a plan, though. I'll tell you that much.
Dutch. Oh man, I'm still so taken aback by the fact that you're back on this game.
Dude.
Because as much as you like to crap on any game that takes longer than 10 hours,
I know, man. It's a total contradiction.
Like,
what do you want from me?
Who are you? What happened?
I'm time traveling to the Old West every time I boot up my PS5. It's very exciting.
Oh.
But I'll keep talking about this so you guys can keep dunking on me.
I'm not dunking on you, man. I'm happy for you. I love it when people are enjoying a game, even if it's not one. Even if it's a game that I didn't necessarily love. Although I didn't get nearly as far as you. I only got like 10 or 12 hours into it, and I just felt like the story was dragging. So
yeah, no, it's definitely a slow-paced story. There's no getting around that. But I'm having fun with the missions and having fun with the camp and stuff. And I already know everything's going to go wrong, of course, because I played the first game, and I'm not looking forward to that.
Gotcha. Anything else?
Yeah, because if you remember a few months ago, we were playing Dead Space 2. I think you finished Dead Space 2, I'm pretty sure.
I did.
And replaying it. So I had left off so close to the end, it turned out, that I was annoyed at myself. But anyway, I finished Dead Space 2 in preparation for Dead Space 2023. And
the game ends so great.
It sure does. And you have to stick a needle in your own eye slowly. It's pretty awesome. Yeah, and dude, I mean, it remains, my favorite horror game. I love it. It's so good.
Yeah. I can't even think of one that comes close. I mean, Resident Evil maybe, but
right. But Dead Space 2 is it's on such a level, and just the whole marker, necromorph lore is so exciting, and yeah, man, dude, it's great. And I kind of forgot a little bit of some of the Nicole hallucination stuff.
Right.
She's like tricking you. It's great. I'm into it.
Yeah, I know we've talked about it, but we totally need to do 3 this Halloween.
A little co-op session.
Yeah, because the hallucination stuff they do in that is pretty cool.
Yeah, I've never played that game co-op, so.
Oh, really? Okay, I have a little bit, not the whole thing. I played at the beginning with somebody, and I was like, "Wow, that's really cool." Like, I'm, the person I'm playing with is describing something that is not showing up on my screen.
Yeah, see, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of sucks that we both know that now. You know what I mean? Like, it'd be cool to like have gone into that game blind and just be like, am I going crazy? Am I not seeing something?
Well, it's probably a game that'll be better on a second trip anyway, because I was so annoyed at like the love triangle the first time
Oh yeah,
that I don't think I
was annoyed by the
distracted.
oxygen usage or whatever. Like you had to like get from point. Oh no, to keep warm. Didn't you have to like get to like a warm area or something?
Which is a little funny because I'm in the vacuum of space and I'm okay, temperature wise. But on this planet, I guess I'm not.
You throw snow in the mix and it just changes everything.
Right, my suit's all messed up. Again, it's not doing well.
Right.
And I remember there being a lot of cover shooting in Dead Space 3.
I remember that too, yeah. And lots of glowy bits. Like a lot more glowy bits than there were in the first game. Right.
They really relied on like a Lost Planet amount of glowy bits.
Yes. Mm-hmm. As for me, you already mentioned GoldenEye, but I went back to in the Wayback Machine for a game this week. I don't know if either of you have ever played the original Kid Icarus on Nintendo, like the original Kid Icarus.
Is that the one with the kid with the wings, right?
Yeah, and the arrows, and
and the credit cards.
Careful, that could be Chubby Cherub as well.
You're right. It's funny you mentioned credit card, Zach, because I had never made it to a point where I got a credit card. I didn't know that was a thing in Kid Icarus, that there was a credit card. I'm like, why is there a credit card in a game that takes place like, I don't know, Medusa and all that? I don't know. Anyway, that game is hard, guys. Look, I played it when I was a kid, and I think I never got even to the second dungeon, because like by the time I got to the second world, I was not recognizing the music at all. But that game is hard, and it's so old that there's no explanation of how to power up anything. You just have to kind of figure it out or just have it happen. Like you have to get a certain number of points and all of a sudden your health just gets bigger. Like, that's never explained. You just, at the end of a level, you just all of a sudden have a larger health bar. There are these bonus weapons you have to get that only work if you have like 1 or 2 full health bars. And like, again, it's all, I had to look this stuff up to be able to understand it. But that is a tough, frustrating game. But I'm almost through it, actually. I am in the final dungeon of the game. I've actually beat the game, but not like legitimately when I was a kid. I used the Icarus Fights Medusa Angels password to get to the final level, just because I wanted to see the final level. And the final level in that game is awesome. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it. Like you actually, because the story of Kid Icarus is like you have to find these 3 treasures, and you have to use those 3 treasures to be able to fight Medusa. So those 3 treasures are like a shield,
a sword.
Isn't it a special bow? Because you're still shooting, and then like the ability to fly. So like the final level is it's almost like a shmup level, and you actually face off Medusa, who has this giant eye that shoots out like sound wave things at you, and you just have to dodge and shoot her eye until she dies. It's like a complete weird departure from the rest of the game, and I used to just play that over and over when I was a kid because the rest of the game was too hard when I was a kid. So, but yeah, I'm in the final dungeon. You know how like the game is structured like 1-1, 1-2, 1-3, 1-4.
Yeah,
and the -4 is always like a Zelda dungeon, like a Zelda 2 dungeon, really. But there's only 3 of those, so it's not like that long of a game. Or is it 4? Maybe it's 4. But yeah, it's not a terribly long game, but it is hard. But yeah, I thought you guys might think that was kind of cool. I don't know what prompted me. I had like a little bit of time to kill, but I didn't really feel like jumping into anything real hardcore, just because I had about like 45 minutes before dinner or something. So I just had the Switch in front of me and fired up the Nintendo Switch Online, and I saw Kid Icarus. I was like, I'm gonna try that.
I'm proud of you for playing a game for you.
I did play a game for me, yeah, man. I'm trying. I mean, Dead Space, I'm definitely playing for me.
Right, yeah.
Pretty sure we all are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm wearing my Dead Space hoodie right now.
I didn't know you had a Dead Space hoodie.
It's the one with the life bar on the back, isn't it?
Right, yep, I got full health on my back.
Oh, that's right. I gotta find one of those. That's
I know
cool.
the things.
It does.
All right, well, that's what we've been catching up on. Let's go ahead and jump into the week's news. Pretty light this week. Not a whole lot of new exciting trailers, although during the Xbox Direct, we got a trailer for Hi-Fi Rush, which is an Xbox exclusive, and it's actually, they pulled and you can play it right now. which was kind of cool to see. I don't know if you guys watched that. Not a direct. What do they call it?
You call it
Xbox developers.
Developer Direct.
Oh, is it developer direct? Okay. So that was pretty cool. Also, after 20 years, Blizzard games are no longer available to the people of China. The Last of Us HBO series has officially been renewed for season 2. Surprise, surprise. Tomb Raider is getting a TV show as well, and Naughty Dog claims that they are done with the Uncharted franchise. That is a lot of Naughty Dog news in 1 week. But CB, you've been gone the longest. Where would you like to start?
Oh, I say we just loop these 2 TV shows together and talk.
Okay.
First off, Last of Us 2 for season 2. Hey, Last of Us for season 2. Not surprised. Not one bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I know a lot of people that are watching this who have never played the game.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, this is phenomenal television.
My mom is watching this.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's really strange for me because we've all played The Last of Us, but having friends who've never played the game or didn't even know that it was a game and playing it, and they're like, this is such a great story. And I'm like,
yeah, we've been saying
that. It's just like, video games do have good stories when they're done in the proper hands.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like Red Dead Redemption 2. Obviously.
Oh my. So it's funny because it triggered a cascade of people watching things at work. Like what other ones? I'm like, The Witcher. And they all powered through The Witcher and they're like, give us more.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, well, there's not much more at the moment.
Right.
So
you know, some real bad news when season 5 comes and there's a different Witcher.
Yeah.
So
well, you could give them some movie recommendations. You could say like the Tomb Raider or Silent Hill.
Sonic,
yeah.
So I mean, there's a few, but I like the TV show format because it's so much more time investment. Like you have character to for somebody who's not attached to a video game and they watch a movie. There's a lot less time for them to become emotionally attached to those characters.
No, I agree.
So
bring me that Fallout TV show, man.
Dude, I'm so chomping at the bit right now. Like
Did you see you're the one that posted them.
Oh, yeah, when they posted the Red Rocket gas station pictures, I was like, and I was like, the first thing I saw was the power armor chassis. And I'm
it
like,
looks pretty spot on.
So I'm really excited for that. Apparently though, episode 2 of the first season of The Last of Us had a 22% growth over the first week, which is the highest second episode jump of any HBO series.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, like for future people looking to make video game TV shows and movies, take note.
That's also impressive because I think they said that it was also the second highest pilot episode of a new show HBO has had.
Sorry, that first record sounded so much like a football record because it was the second highest premiere of a show since 2010, not including the streaming ones after. I was like, what?
Yeah,
so that doesn't even feel like a record worth mentioning to me.
Football records are great.
Yeah,
this is the first time he's kicked a 25-yard field goal when the temperature was between 43 and 47 degrees. Often,
and with an odd number of attendees in the audience.
Yeah. No, but episode 1 did have 22 million views since it aired on January 15th, which, that stat is probably a little bit old by now anyway, too. So,
yeah,
22 million views. And that's a paid subscription service. That's HBO. It's not like, I guess people are sharing HBO passwords too, but it's not a big surprise. My initial question is where are they going to cut off season 1? Are they going to do season 1 just like they did the game season 1?
That's my belief now. I originally thought you could stretch Last of Us 1 probably into 2 or 3 years of television because you could just have them come on different adventures along their road. But it sounds like they want to stay pretty close to it. I am beginning to believe that season 1 is just going to be the first game.
Well, Craig Mazin was interviewed when they were talking about season 2 before it was made official. He was talking about how they were hoping that they got to do it, but in his words, he said there's more than a season's worth of television for sure, unquote.
In the second
for
game.
season for the second game, which I agree.
Yeah,
I think you could do at least two
Well,
seasons.
Honestly, I think season 1, Last of Us, first game.
Yep.
Season 2 is Joel and Ellie's story, like from Last of Us 2, like Ellie's side of the story, and then season 3 is the other side of the story.
I don't think that would work very well for television.
I think it could.
I think you need to intermingle it, like they did, because it's like Game of Thrones, right? Because some of the books didn't even have the characters, but they made sure they brought the timelines in unison because you need your cast in the show.
I think it would be interesting if they did what CB's talking about, but reversed it. They have the opening sequence that we are all familiar with from Last of Us Part 2, and then you're playing as Abby, or you see Abby's story, and then they go back for season 3 to tell Joel and Ellie's story, or Ellie's story.
I think you got to jump in between.
You think so?
Yeah, and I think.
I think you could, but only if you made. I actually think you could split it up, like one season this way, one season this way, but season 2 ends before the last 40 minutes of the game, and then you have all of season 3 the other side, and then the final episode is the reckoning of both stories.
I mean, I trust them at this point. They're doing a bang-up job, at least with the
no
first 2
lies.
episodes.
Yeah, I'm not saying it couldn't be done well. I'm saying I think you're going to lose people like my mom in season 3 if you don't have the main lady, the main girl anymore for most of the season.
Do you think she's that likable? Because she's not super likable.
Who?
Ellie.
Anyone I've ever known who's like The Last of Us loves Ellie.
Oh, I mean, for the TV show, do you think that people that haven't played the games that are watching the show without any context, are they liking Ellie? As a character?
Yeah.
The few that I've talked to, yes.
Yeah, I would say she seems to be beloved with the people I'm talking to.
Okay.
I mean, why wouldn't she be? We fell in love with her in the game pretty quickly.
Yeah, boy, that's a tough question to answer. I feel like with the game, she looks a lot younger in the game than she does in the show.
Yeah.
She's like 19 now, like in real life. She's still very young looking, but she still felt like a, almost like a preteen in the game when you met her.
She seems like 14. Yeah, 14 seemed correct in the game to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, well, she looks younger than any of the cast of Smallville, I'll tell you that. And they're all playing 14-year-olds.
I will say though, for somebody who knows what's happening, watching my friends watch that first episode and me going in knowing full well what's going to happen,
right,
it was brutal. Because they're like, why?
Yeah, you're used to getting those by like episode 9 of Game of Thrones, right? Like characters die, but not significant characters in the first episode of a season.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's been super fun watching it with my partner because she has seen The Last of Us 2, but has not seen the first one, the games.
Oh.
So she just remembers Joel as like that father figure guy to Ellie, but now he's like the main character.
So does she think that Ellie's just kind of not the good guy, or you know what I mean? Because you don't have that context of at the end of the game. We're getting into the weeds here, but
yeah, no, I don't. What do you mean? No, because they still portray her sympathetically. She's still avenging, the
Joel's death. Yeah, it's true. That's true.
It's interesting that you seem to remember Ellie as this negative character.
No, you gotta remember, I'm watching it with the only person I'm watching it with that's not seen it is my wife.
Right.
And my wife just doesn't like characters that swear a lot and are just overly negative, and she's not somebody that likes the aggressive, in your face characters that
poor choice in watching television show.
Well, she didn't watch the second episode with me.
I'd say it would be a poor choice of watching anything on HBO.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point too.
Yeah.
If they do split season 1 though, I think it will be when they arrive at the hospital.
I still feel like you could have done 2 seasons of them on the road and just invent new stories along the way. But I guess I'm glad that they're going for quality over quantity.
Oh, for sure. And I think that's what I said.
That's what I was saying. If they decided to cut season 1, it would be when they arrive to the hospital, because then you could have some road story. And
there's no way they don't end the season with the hospital, man. There's no way.
Well, you got to end it. You got to end it with okay.
Yeah.
You know what? Yeah. That's how you end a season 2 of TV.
You really have to.
No, but I'm saying they arrive at the hospital.
Right. Yeah, we're hearing you.
So,
because then the first episode of season 2 is just the hospital, then, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't sound.
No, wait a minute. You're talking about the hospital at the end of the first game?
That is what he's talking about. Yes.
You have to have that scene in the end of the first season of the show.
No.
Or
I'm saying the end of the first season will be them getting to the hospital.
But I think having this is a weird conversation. Season 2, episode 1 being just a hospital be a weird start to a season. That's a strange pace for a television show. The hospital is the end of a story.
Right.
Well,
they could get away with it if they were using that as a catalyst to introduce a new character. If you know what I'm saying.
Right. Well, I'm sure they will weave in that character earlier.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay.
Instead of doing the weird kind of retrofit of it.
Okay. Well,
either way, that I'm sure that was a riveting listen.
Yeah, we're all speculating at this point anyway.
Yeah.
So
I think season 2 should just be Tommy's Town.
Okay, well, moving along the other story, Tomb Raider getting a TV show.
Live action TV show, not
developed by Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who's going to be known for Indiana Jones and the movie I Hope Doesn't Fail.
She's gonna write Destiny.
Yeah, she's gonna write the scripts, but not act in the series itself. There's already an anime series based on Tomb Raider in the works on Netflix. So,
but that's Netflix. This is gonna be Amazon.
Yeah, so that's weird that we're gonna have 2 separate Tomb Raider series on 2 different networks.
Embracer's getting that bag.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's just wow. Live action, I think could do it. It's gonna be so weird though to have the person who's doing the new Indiana Jones do it though.
Well, it sounds like she's in the Pulp headset.
Yeah, I was gonna say
she is, but I feel that there's gonna be a little cross pollination on accident.
I mean, there
already is.
There was deliberately already,
but still.
I would love to see this show be a treasure of the week type of show.
Yeah, I would love that. I miss those kind of stories.
Yeah, instead of it just being an overarching story that lasts an entire season, we just get one little meaty episode of her trying to get this one thing, and then maybe at the end things come together somehow.
So I wanted The Mandalorian to be Bounty of the Week. That's what I wanted that show to be.
Yeah.
So essentially, the first 5 seasons of Supernatural,
right? But done in a expensive way where you only have 8 a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
that would be super fun. You could almost. I mean, the movie that comes to mind when I think about this is National Treasure, and don't shoot me for saying this, but
that's great.
I love that movie, and
that's a great movie.
But those kinds of puzzles. You know what I mean? Where they're finding ancient artifacts to uncover things, and she's using that to try to find something, and she doesn't always get it. There's some where she doesn't get it, or she comes close, or maybe she'll get it in the next episode. You know what I mean? That I miss that week to week stuff.
For me, Amazon Prime, I guess the shows I've seen that aren't usually outside of The Boys and I guess Invincible. I don't find them to be compelling usually.
I
can't tell you what I've watched. Honestly,
I mean, I've watched Clarkson's Farm.
Because I watched 2 episodes of Rings of Power, and I think I fell asleep 4 times between them. And then
I liked Rings of Power, man.
I tried to watch Wheel of Time, but that was insufferable. Yeah, that was legitimately one of the worst pilots I've ever seen. Period.
Wow.
But Rings I do want to watch more Rings of Power, but it was just so not good.
I don't know. I enjoyed it, man.
Our community had some pretty positive things to say about how that wrapped up in our Discord.
I'll
haven't
get
watched
to it.
but-
It's just it's weird. Anyway, that's Amazon.
All right, well, let's move on. Zach, you got a story you want to talk about?
Yeah, I guess I'll talk about Neil Druckmann here claiming that Uncharted is done.
Yeah.
Right? You know, the man himself, Neil Druckmann, said Uncharted was insanely successful. Uncharted 4 is one of our best-selling games, and we're able to put our final brushstroke on that story and say that we're done. And he's claiming Naughty Dog. He makes it sound like Naughty Dog has pretty much free reign over there, PlayStation, which is probably close to true, I imagine. But I would think, well, that's good for Naughty Dog. We're still going to go ahead and make an Uncharted game, though.
Who's gonna make it?
Yeah, they have a bunch of teams.
All right.
You know, the MLB The Show team hired for a bunch of narrative development and stuff, so they've obviously got some kind of single-player game in the works. Could be an Uncharted game.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Or it's just the fact that it won't be called Uncharted. New franchise, same characters.
I'm sure Nathan Drake's story is over. But I can't.
And weren't we all kind of expecting there to be a story based on his daughter?
Right.
Or something? Like we kind of expected it to go that route?
Yeah, that makes sense. But,
I
mean, it's nice that Neil Druckmann believes in his corporate overlords, but if they want to make an Uncharted game, they're just going to go ahead and do it.
So it's not up to him? He has no say, is what you're saying?
No, of course not.
Okay.
It's not even the franchise he created.
That's true.
He helped finish it with another dude who he seems to not mention the name of ever, weirdly.
That's a good point.
With Bruce Straley.
He did also mention that they're interested in instead focusing on the next multiplayer game in the universe of The Last of Us, which will apparently follow different characters in a different part of the country. That felt like news to me. And as exciting as that sounds, I also know that Fear the Walking Dead was a thing. Nobody seemed to like that.
Well,
so
all of the Last of Us faction stuff has been about San Francisco. All the concept art and stuff. So I'm just saying it's not news. It might be news to you.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's news to me.
I'm just worried when they say something like a multiplayer game that it's going to turn out to be like Back 4 Blood, but in the Last of Us universe.
Well, he also mentioned that it's got a bunch of, he's talking about, I don't know if there was this interview, but some interview where there's a whole new cast of characters and a storyline and stuff. So it still sounds like it'll be a significant Last of Us, narrative entry.
Right.
It'll just have a multiplayer focus. I really hope it's not like just the Division in the Last of Us world. That would not be ideal.
No. But here's the thing, like, was the draw for The Last of Us really the whole thing about the fungus creatures, the why can't I think of the name of their clickers?
The cordyceps?
Cordyceps. That wasn't the draw, right?
No,
it was the story.
Well, it was a unique spin on zombies, but ultimately it is just a zombie story.
Right.
Yeah.
But the reason that we were drawn into that was what happened with the living characters that weren't living. You know what I mean? That's what drew us in, and that's what kept us going. And what's going on surrounding Ellie is what pushed us forward more than just this horrible thing that's happening in the world. Whereas what's going to draw us in San Francisco is what I worry about.
I'm hoping to see some kind of, because you could position a multiplayer game as Fireflies versus Fedra, because Fireflies are pushing the resistance. You could kind of have that. Because Factions was fun, the multiplayer in The Last of Us, the first one. I would like to see more of that.
Okay. Last story I want to talk about is this deal with Blizzard. Apparently, people in China just straight up are not able to play any of the Blizzard games anymore. That includes World of Warcraft, Hearthstone, Diablo 3, Diablo Immortal, everything. Just not available to them. There is a public licensing dispute between Blizzard and NetEase, the now former partner with Blizzard in China. Their agreement, which has been going on for years, ended this past month, and they have just decided not to put things back together yet. So, what's funny is both companies seem to be calling each other out online, blaming the other and I don't really know who's to blame at this point. It's just kind of a mess. But my question to you guys is this really just a big legal thing with these two companies, or is it the Chinese government? Because I know that we always talk about China. In China, you can't do things as freely as we can here, and there's a lot of ugly things going on in China that we've alluded to before. But is this more because of the regulations for Blizzard, or is this because of a dispute between these two companies? CB's got thoughts. It looks like.
Oh, I do not remember like the big hubbub a few years ago when somebody spoke out up against the Chinese government on a Blizzard game.
Right, when they won the tournament and then they revoked their win, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I do remember that.
And the fact that the Chinese government does not like any platform that you can speak out against their government, like, without any repercussions.
Right. Yeah, so this is a little bit, to me, like Blizzard's kind of reaping what they've sown, in a way. You know, they've been kowtowing to the communist government, and now the communist government wants more from them. Good stuff.
Yeah.
It's feels a little bit like karma.
I mean, it's
but the people that are suffering are the gamers. Now, I don't play WoW.
Again, but okay, and that's an argument. But if you don't upset the gamers, then they're not going to get upset at the government and demand change. So if you just keep going the way you are, nothing's going to change anyway. So yeah, I'm just, hey man, if you're a gamer in China, don't get mad at Blizzard. Get mad at your communist overlords.
Well, that's my question. Is that the bigger reason why this is happening? Because they require all these regulations. They require a partner like NetEase in order to be able to play these games in China? Or is that something that is done in other countries? I legitimately don't know.
There is, because there are certain things that you're allowed to do in certain games in other countries that you're not allowed to do here. And there's certain things that you can do here that you're not allowed to do in other countries. Like, one of the big things that I remember a lot is like gold farming.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a lot of gold farmers in the U.S. They're all in Asian countries.
You talking about people that just go like and just farm for gold and then turn around and sell it to other people in the market
for real world money. They have farms of people, like that's their job. They come to work every day, hop on, literally just farm gold, transfer it to one account who then sells it. It's insane.
So is your point that they can't have those jobs now? Or what's your point?
Well, Blizzard started cracking down on that with their regulations. So if you were to have regulations through somebody else where they're like, because we use Google servers, like you can't do these kind of things, but if you use NetEase servers, you're able to still accomplish those things. It is very sad because I know World of Warcraft has kind of gotten their pee-pee slapped before with World of Warcraft.
Why?
Well, do you remember Miss? You wouldn't know this because you didn't play, but Miss of Pandaria. They introduced a panda faction, which China went nuts over because they're like, this is sacred animal. But yeah, there's Blizzard and China have had a lot of headbutting over the years for like many, many different reasons.
I just think it's a bummer. Like I said, I don't play World of Warcraft, but if I know that people like you, CB, have put in literally years of time, into this game, and then just all of a sudden one day you can't do it anymore. Now, granted, that could be a reprieve for some people, but that just would be a huge bummer to like just not have it. That has nothing to do with like I didn't pay my monthly fee or anything like that, or I don't have the hardware. No, it's just not allowed in our country anymore because of political reasons, one way or the other. That's just very frustrating.
And it's going to be sad because Blizzard is going to take a massive hit from this.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know there's a ton of players on Blizzard games over there. But all those players are just going to migrate to something else.
Mm-hmm.
whether it be like Fortnite, Call of Duty, any game that you can farm an in-game currency.
Yeah, but there's no way they're not going to go back to World of Warcraft when and if it becomes available.
Yes and no, because would you want to invest all that time again to then just have it randomly shut down again?
Or does it feel like that big of a difference to just do something different? You know what I mean? Is that like, a new job that just feels not the same old kind of thing? Anyway, I don't know. I just feel bad for those people that just can't play the games just because of nothing that has anything to do with them.
And what an interesting time to have this happen, especially with a giant merger about to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point, too. Didn't think about that. All right, well, let's go ahead and move on. I want to do some quick housekeeping. Remind everybody that we do have a Patreon available. If you'd like to help support the Gaming Outsider, head over to patreon.com/thegocast. We have some bonus episodes for you guys. At the $3 tier, you'll get one, and at the $5 tier, you'll get two each month. We actually have been doing a Last of Us series spoiler cast with John Davenport from The Hollywood Outsider every week with each episode, and I would highly recommend you check that out because it's a lot of fun. We are going to be doing another one tonight, actually. Also, Kevin's Beginner's Guide to D&D is up and available right now as well. He kind of talked to us about how to start your own campaign. It was a lot of fun. And we got some other good things in the work as well, but and also tons and tons of past content. CB and I have sat down and done some games that aren't for us, episodes where he makes me play these games that are really, really bad. We did an episode where we talked about like the dirtiest games we could find. That was kind of a lot of fun. We've done spoiler casts. We've done legacy episodes where we make somebody try a game that they've never played before that the other person loves. Check it out. We'd love to have you. Patreon.com/thegocast. And now we're going to go ahead and jump into the new games we've been playing. All right, Zach, what's new on the horizon that people can check out this week?
Incredibly light week. I really had to do some digging to find some releases. Cute Fox game Endling, Extinction is Forever, comes to iOS and Android on February 3rd. 2D action game Helvetii comes to PS5, PS4, and PC February 3rd. And visual novel Arcadia Fallen comes to PS5 and PS4 February 9th. It seems like everybody didn't want to be in between Dead Space and Hogwarts Legacy.
Pretty much. That seems very much the case. And I'm just going to play more Dead Space. Is what I'm going to do. I don't know about you guys.
Couldn't be more thrilled about this release schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect time.
Dead Spacing it up.
Speaking of, let's go ahead and jump into it because all three of us have been playing Dead Space. Zach, you're playing on a PS5, correct?
That's right. Yeah. And I've been flipping image back and forth between performance mode and quality mode just for fun.
Oh, have you been able to see any noticeable difference one way or the other?
I can now kind of tell the difference between 60 and 30, but I still don't understand what all the fuss is about.
Okay.
That's my conclusion.
So, I, for the first time in a long time, took notes, guys. I took notes on my thoughts on Dead Space. Like, while I was playing
paragraphs of notes there.
Yeah. I have so much to talk about this game, but I don't want to overshadow the conversation and talk. So, who wants to start? Because you
can start, fearless leader.
Kick it off, man.
Okay, so I'm going to make a really weird analogy that I kind of feel like I had this thought about it when the Resident Evil remake came out, and I feel like I have the same thoughts with this, and I just never expressed it before. And it's going to be weird, and you guys are going to laugh at me because you guys know how much I love Zelda, but I'm going to use Zelda as an analogy for what this game is as a remake, because Dead Space to me feels like a second quest of the original Zelda, but if you had played that second quest with Link to the Past's graphics engine and weapons and items and everything like that. It's like your very familiar game that plays very much like Zelda, but it controls a lot better, the graphics look a lot prettier. There's a lot of things that are familiar, but everything is rearranged and in a new place, and you're still having that sense of discovery. That is the feeling I'm getting playing Dead Space, and I understand that, we're talking about a current generation, not an 8-bit versus 16 generation, but that is what Dead Space feels like to me. There is so much that is familiar to me, but there is just as much stuff that is brand new to make me feel like I'm playing the same game, but there's some things that I need to get used to, and I'll get into more detail.
Yeah.
Do you guys agree with me?
Dude, that's actually a really good comparison. It makes me think of Ocarina of Time and Master Quest.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the GameCube or whatever it was, where it was fundamentally the same game, but there were different traps and rooms and stuff for dungeons.
Right. So imagine doing that, but making it look better at the same time.
Right. That's a pretty apt comparison, I would say.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm glad you guys. So let's hear some thoughts from you guys, because like I said, I don't want to just read my paragraph here, but
damn, this game be gorgeous.
Sure.
But I'm for the first time in a long time, I've had to make sure that my children are not present in a room
Because of all the gore?
Yeah. But it is delicious gore.
Sure.
I'm having such a fun time with this because Scott and I had talked about this, but I played through the original Dead Space one time.
oh wow, okay,
Once.
like
That's
at release.
No. Because I didn't get a 360 until a year after the 360 came out. And I didn't play Dead Space till almost a year after I owned my 360.
Well, that's
Didn't
still
Dead Space come out in 2008?
Or
correct.
it had been a while. I just remember that. Like, I remember getting my 360 and then playing Dead Space over a year after it came out.
Right.
So
The point being, you haven't played it in over a decade.
yeah.
Okay.
And I remember
Whereas I played it like 2 years ago, played Dead Space 2 a year, so it's very fresh in my mind, but it's been a minute for you. So we got a couple different perspectives.
No, I played Dead Space, the first one, right when Dead Space 3 came out.
Okay.
Because somebody's like, oh my god, Dead Space 3 is coming out. I'm like, there's 3 of these games? Because I remember it releasing at some point in time, so I powered through 1, 2, and then played 3.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I appreciate the biography of your history, but
But
it's still been over a decade, right?
But
I mean,
yes.
no matter what, yes.
But for me, it's been so long. So this feels like something completely new and fresh, regardless of whether it was a remaster or not.
Okay.
Gotcha.
And this is I love horror games that make me move methodically. And this is
Sure.
definitely one of those, because you never know when something's going to either bust through a wall, drop out of a ceiling, come through a door. So I love that.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll circle around after you guys get your happy thoughts out of the way, because I have a couple negative thoughts.
Well,
Okay. I've probably played Dead Space 20 times, maybe.
yeah, I'm about 10 times for me.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I've probably played the first one probably a dozen times. I've played the second one probably 30. But anyway, the point is, I'm very familiar with Dead Space, and this game is different in both small and large ways, but not so much where it feels like a totally new experience, if that makes sense. But it is still great. It is like a little bit of, like when you have that opening scare scene, you run to the elevator and the guy pops through and he gets his head cut off, just like in the original game. I was a little bit like, it kind of, you didn't need this remake. I'm not saying I'm not loving it, because I am loving it, but it was kind of a point, like, while I'm playing it, I'm like, Dead Space still holds up, though, like the original.
I will say the original, playing it on an Xbox Series X or S, holds up. But if you were to go back and play it on a 360, I don't think it would hold up quite as well. I mean, gameplay-wise, yes.
Right.
It's not going to look anywhere near as good.
Well, you guys know I'm not the world's biggest graphics dude.
Right.
So for me, it's just like the gameplay is still solid. Now where the difference has come through for me the most, and it's probably the reason I might not play the original. I might opt for this remake every time, is that Isaac talks now.
Right? Yeah.
And some of it is some really clunky exposition dialogue, like all that's opening stuff in the spaceship where they're like going over his dating history with Nicole. I was like, this is some CW tier writing that's happening here.
Well, plus it felt like unnecessary. Like, we get it. He's got somebody here he loves. We don't have to have the whole...
We don't need that other woman to go line by line on his history. It was just really, really silly stuff.
Also, why is she watching the video while he's watching it? That's kind of rude.
Yes.
Like,
well, and all of her, like, being mad at the captain, like, you knew what we were going into and stuff. I was like, this is this isn't the time.
Yeah.
this is starting to feel like the weird infighting of Dead Space 3. But having Isaac's voice, despite how goofy he looks in this remake, has been really nice, because there are some major story moments in that first game where it was utterly ridiculous that man didn't speak.
Yep, totally. CB, you don't like that he talks now, you said.
No, that was like the first thing that I was like, because I had to take a moment and I'm like, wait a second, he didn't talk before.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, so.
But how is that not better? Like, I'm genuinely asking.
I didn't say it was.
Oh,
worse.
it was just off-putting.
It was just said that for the first opening cutscene, I might have agreed with him. Like, oh, we made a mistake here.
But it was so, because like I'm trying to like compare the original to this one as I'm playing it. I'm like, wait a second, Isaac didn't talk. What? Okay, so I'm like, all right, this is completely new, and here we go. But there's so many spots that I'm like, this feels so familiar, but at the same time so foreign. Like every time you get to one of the tram stations.
Well, that was the thing, is like the tram stations before were like just how you got to the next level. Everything was very linear. Now the game has you backtracking, and you're able to get on the tram and go back to other places to either progress the story or to collect some things that you weren't able to miss, because now the game, instead of locking content behind doors that you need a node in order to unlock, now they have this security clearance thing.
Yeah,
go ahead, Zach. I have some fanboy complaints. One of them being the removal of power node doors.
Really?
I always loved the power node doors, because it was such an exercise in impulse control to not upgrade, you know?
Dude, it took me till chapter 4 to not carry one extra node in my inventory before I realized that I'm not going to see any doors with nodes in them.
I was having such a weird effect where like I had to look it up. I was like, were the power node doors not in the first game?
Right.
I was like, I could have swore.
Well, the fact that they turned Dead Space into a gear-gated game.
Yes and no.
Kind of.
No, I know they mentioned that a lot in the marketing, but not really. It's still a very linear game.
Mm-hmm.
And the security clearance thing is just like a nothing. It's a nothing burger.
It's also super dumb. Like, why wouldn't Hammond just unlock all of it for you? Like, what's the purpose for him to like give you?
It reminds me of a Metroid Other M.
Metroid, yes, yeah. Other M.
Oh, you can't use your missiles yet, Samus. Why? Well, because I said you can't.
Because
that's why
we haven't authorized you to yet.
Yeah. I'm fighting a dragon. Yeah, you don't need missiles yet, though.
Oh, that's hilarious. So,
I will say though that this game does like one of the cardinal things that I hate, and that's I have too many weapons.
You can just store them.
Yeah. I know, but I like to store things like ammo and health, and try to play.
No, I mean you
minimalist.
can store them. I'm saying store them in the store. Like you can actually go in the store and put.
I know, but I also store things like ammo and health for later on.
Why do you need to do that? Ammo may as well be unlimited in this game.
Yeah.
Because I still burn through ammo like crazy.
Okay, well that might be the difference. You know what? That's actually, I'm glad you said that, because I was messaging Scott being pretty annoyed because I'm often having about 200 bullets at a time.
Mm-hmm.
But he said it was probably because we've played the game, 20 times. And you burning through ammo that's probably proof of that.
Yeah, I mean, I've where I'm at now is like roughly the same spot as Scott, and I'm now getting back into that. Just okay, stasis, curb stomp, curb stomp, curb stomp.
Sure.
But like the first 3 chapters of the game, I was just like shoot everything over and over.
I did hit a wall about the time right before the asteroid sequence, which, by the way, they fixed that. Hallelujah.
I never had a problem with it, but that's okay.
Dude,
remember... I'm good at turret sequences, and I played that turret sequence probably about 8 times the first time just to get through it. If I had to hear Hammond say, "You're in the pit," one more time. I was gonna.
I would also argue they didn't fix it. I think it's a lateral move. I didn't think it was very fun this time.
It's not fun, but it makes more sense.
Sure,
Like-
but I'm saying it's not really an improvement. It's more of it's just an alternative version
Right.
of a sequence that could be annoying is also still annoying.
I didn't find it annoying this time. I found it incredibly easy.
I just found it
Like-
boring.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of cool. I'm outside the ship. I am like navigating where to shoot these asteroids, and then all of a sudden it clicks in, and then it starts doing it by itself. And all right, let's go do the next one.
Yeah,
I
but
thought
it
that
was
kinda
also
cool.
there weren't really any enemies out there, so you're just kind of floating there waiting.
There was
I ran
two.
into enemies. Yeah, I
know.
got two.
I didn't
There was 2 that were right next to the third one.
Yeah.
I didn't get an enemy until after the sequence was over, and by then I
That-
just zipped past them.
That is the thing. I know, CB, you said you had some negative things to talk about it. I've got one big negative. As good as some of the sound design is in this game, like things like if you actually point your plasma cutter at a dead body, you can hear Isaac's heart beating.
Oh,
That's really freaking cool. I'm playing with headphones too, so maybe
Okay.
highly recommend doing that. But again, playing with headphones, I can't hear when a freaking enemy's behind me. I don't understand why that is a thing. Because they do the thing where you see an enemy in front of you, and so I run towards him to try to kill him, but I don't realize there's one behind me and I can't hear it. I'm wearing headphones. I should be able to hear someone behind me.
It's because Isaac has that metal piece on the back of his head. It blocks out sound.
Is that what it is?
I don't know.
What it is. Anyway, that's my one big negative is I am really frustrated that I can't hear enemies to the left, right, and I've got surround sound and I've got headphones on, so they're not I don't have the Epis ones that CB is using, but they're Turtle Beach. I mean, they're good.
Yeah.
Anyway, we got to keep going on because I got more thoughts.
I'm okay. I'm gonna get one of my big negatives out. Dude, this is 2023. Can we please stop having enemies get confused by doors?
Yeah.
well, I don't know about they can, if you lock yourself in a different room, they can crawl through the vents and get you.
Sometimes, or they just get confused and stand at the door.
Oh, I don't know if I've had that personally.
I've actually had.
Oh, I've used it.
Oh yeah,
I've
you just
exploited
stand there, door shuts. Okay, reload everything, get ready, open door, shoot, let door shut.
it. Yeah.
Like
I've actually been injured by a door.
I know the exact
Like-
door you're talking about.
It was multiple times. Because I do a thing I open the door and then I instinctively back up just in case there's something right on the other side. But sometimes I'll back up too much and the game thinks that I'm, not wanting to go through that door anymore, so it'll start to close. But at the exact same time, I'll try to walk forward when I see that there's nothing on the other side, and I'll actually get stuck in the door and take damage. That's
Well,
new.
While we're doing our nitpicks, I hate that they have the X button in the game world.
The X button in
For
the
when you're
game world.
opening a chest and stuff, it has I guess it would be the A button for you guys
Oh yeah.
to open, because that wasn't in the original game, because that's not part of the suit. That's the game. That's a UI element.
Interesting. I didn't even notice it, honestly.
Well, thankfully, EA Motive gave me the option to turn it off.
Oh,
'Cause
nice.
It was really driving me batty, because it's the part of what makes Dead Space so immersive is that it has no video game elements at all. It's all in a
Right.
suit and stuff, and you just walk up to a chest that has a blue light, meaning you can open it. But here in this remake, they have the little button prompt on it.
Huh. I didn't even notice that. Good catch, man.
Yeah.
But
Did you guys change the control
but
scheme?
it's super cool they let you turn it off. And yes, the first thing I did was change the control scheme to Dead Space 2, because when it said toggle to sprint, I was gonna throw my controller at the screen. How dare they?
I haven't changed it, and because I didn't even think about the possibility of changing it, but it does not feel right running with a click.
No.
Doesn't bother me at all.
Man,
It sounds like you're less intimately familiar. I mean, I just beat Dead Space 2 the day before I got Dead Space, so I was ready for that.
I mean, I tried to run that way just playing it. Like why is my run not working? Why am I not running?
May I ask why you didn't change the controls then?
Like I said, I didn't think about it, and I was just so excited to be playing the game, and I wanted to jump in. I wasn't even thinking about. I mean, obviously, I changed my inverted, so I should have just gone and done
Yeah.
it. There's something else that's different too.
But I think it's cool that they cater to fans with the stuff like getting rid of the button prompt, which means that there was somebody at the studio who was like, dude, I don't think people are going to like this. So that way, somebody like me was addressed. But it's also nice they gave you not only Dead Space 2's control option, but Dead Space 1's as well.
Mm-hmm.
They appear to be fans of the original game.
Oh yeah, and you can tell that the people that were included in making this game had something to do with some of the tweaks that they made to make it better too. For instance, you can now open a door or activate an elevator or whatever while you're holding something with telekinesis.
Yep.
That is huge because at least in Dead Space 1, I had to set it down on the ground,
open the door,
button, telekinesis it again, and now I can just carry it and keep telekinesis. That is fantastic. I love that.
You know what? Honestly, I have just been dropping stuff, opening the door, and picking it back up out of habit.
Well, why didn't you just do it that way, Zach? Why didn't
I didn't try it? I didn't even think about it.
I'm making fun of you.
No, you're right. You're right. I should have just tried. But my brain was just like, oh yes, this does not work, so I will not attempt this.
But you can. I've carried around one of those fire canisters or those explosive barrel canisters for a while, just because I could.
That's cool.
Or the the claw from an enemy, because that obviously does some decent damage if you can nail that right. I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like the hitboxes are tighter this time around.
Yes, I agree. I agree with you.
Because
I wasted so many shots just barely missing between both legs.
Yeah, it took me some getting used to the new hitboxes, but now, I can. You're killing those main dudes in 3 shots, 3 or 4 shots.
I wasted a lot of ammo on that first brute that you fight in the bridge.
I forgot how to fight him, and I didn't have any stasis.
Oh yeah. I feel like you could still just hit the arm, but I feel like now you really have to hit that shoulder.
Yes,
and the glowy bit is not nearly as prominent as glowy bits tend to be, which I actually kind of appreciated.
Kind of intimate fanboy conversation I was hoping to have, because I'm pretty sure you could have shot the shoulder from the front in the original game. But now you really do have to kind of get around him and angle.
No, I was still shooting him from the front.
Okay.
I never shot him from behind. You do have a wider spot in the back, but I was still able to take it down 5 shots or whatever, take an arm off.
So,
but you really have to be really precise.
You guys stasis locked him. I actually beat him a completely different way.
Well, I didn't stasis lock him. I had no stasis. Continue.
Oh, well, for me, he launches the bombs and everything. Yeah. I just kept catching those and throwing them back at him.
And that just killed him?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
He Ganondorfed him.
You did.
I was sitting here, I'm like, huh. I was like, okay, die. I don't have to waste any ammo on this. And literally, he'd throw, grab, throw, grab, throw. And so I'm like, I'm just playing volleyball with this guy.
Yeah, I wasted so much ammo during that fight, Zach. I was actually down at one point to 8 rounds left.
So same here. I ran out of ammo for all my weapons. But then by 30 minutes later, I was back up to 200 bullets. I couldn't believe it.
Just going to say that. Funny you say all that. You're not going for an all plasma cutter run, huh?
No, because I want my first run. I'm going to try to get the trophies for getting the 30 kills with all the other weapons.
Yeah.
And then when I do New Game Plus, I'm going to do the plasma cutter run.
See, I'm doing just the opposite.
Yeah, which is I want to get him out of the way because I want my plasma cutter.
Oh, dude, I have plasma cutters. So
but if it was, speaking of weapons, this might have been. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No. I was going in a different direction. Go ahead.
Probably my favorite improvement, even more than rolling in the 0G from Dead Space 2 into this.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that too.
Is that you get your weapons on the story path?
Yeah,
I love this because it used to just be you buy it for the store.
Yep.
Which kind of limited you. You didn't really want to. Do I really want to buy the Ripper? Do I really want to try it out? Because it costs 6,000 credits. I could get an upgrade node.
Mm-hmm.
And this kind of forces you to use it because especially, I feel like they might have redesigned it a little bit because when you get the flamethrower is when they introduce the little creepy crawly guys, which is great for the flamethrower.
Exactly.
So I feel like they're really smart about incentivizing using the new weapon you have, and it just makes you. And teaching you, absolutely. So it's just it's such a better path for the weapons, and I'm loving it because then I get the weapon, and I just focus in on it for a while, get those 30 kills. And it just got such a nice pace to introducing stuff to you.
Nice.
I really think it's just a small tweak, and it's kind of I guess it's the anti-skill tree in me,
Yeah.
But I just really loved finding that stuff on the main path. I just thought it was super, super smart design decision.
Yeah, like when you find the flamethrower, isn't it like in the hands of somebody that is like stuck to the wall?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
like that was a really cool moment. I like that.
Or the pulse rifle you get from the security guard that she's dying.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just stuff like that was just very, very cool. And then, but then you still find things that are like, I'm not gonna say call them schematics. Maybe they are schematics, but like you find something to upgrade that weapon, but you can't activate it until you get back to the store, and the store recognizes it, and now you can upgrade it if you want to. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that's cool. I got something to say about the New Game Plus in a second, but I also love that there are no empty node spaces in the upgrade tree of the suit and the plasma cutter.
See,
CB, I don't know if
I like the empty nodes myself because you have to sacrifice. Basically, it feels painful to give one up.
right.
But I also love the way that this kind of expands over time.
Yeah. Like you don't get
So-
the full thing, right? I was like, that's it? That's all I get to upgrade this plasma cutter? And I've got 2 of them now. I don't know how many you've got, but I got there's a part 1 and a part 2 for my plasma cutter. And the part 2, like do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, where it gives you like new specials and stuff like that.
Yeah. Like the part 2 of the plasma cutter, CB, you probably have it already.
Yeah.
It like every time you shoot, it makes the next shot even more powerful. Like while you're aiming down iron sights, you shoot, and the next one's a little more powerful. The next one's a little more powerful. The next one's more powerful. So your shots actually do more damage as you're firing. That was not in the original. That's really cool.
Yeah,
So-
I think it's great. I'm loving. I always like to upgrade my rig first because I like having infinite air in 0G because I feel cool.
Yeah.
It's really annoying. He starts gagging at 30 seconds though.
Yeah. Like really?
Buddy, you only had 50 seconds to start with. You're not even halfway through your oxygen. Settle down. I know you're old.
I go for the air. I go straight for the kinesis stuff.
Well, I'm doing full rig.
Oh, I
what
know,
I'm focusing on, but
When you have like the different paths, like I go for like the kinesis and stasis stuff first.
yeah, I love kinesis. Good stuff.
I can't decide if I like the security lockout stuff or not because on one hand, I like that they did something different, but I don't like that I feel like even if I'm coming back to an area, I still have to scour every room because there's no way I'm going to remember if I've been in that room. You know what I mean? I'm not marking my map or anything to be like
Marks itself.
just for the doors.
No,
It is for the doors.
But the doors. Yeah, but the rooms turn different colors.
Well, for me, it's just because in the first Dead Space you did revisit. You go to the medical station twice or whatever. So to me, it's just like it doesn't really add much to the game, the security clearance stuff, because I know I'm going to go back to these areas anyway.
Right.
And I do rescour, and I always just find my empty lockers, and I'm like, oh, that was a waste of time.
Right.
So it's just part of my habit anyway. So for me, it doesn't really add or subtract from the game, honestly. And it might later, maybe, if you're really, because I know on New Game Plus, there's some kind of new collectible that you have to look out for.
Yeah, I know what they are. Do you know what they are?
No, and you probably shouldn't say it on the podcast.
I have a feeling I know what they are.
Well, it just feels like, okay. I have a strong guess as to what the only thing it could possibly be in the Dead Space lore. But I just say, it doesn't feel like you should spoil it here. Most people haven't gotten through the game at all. But yeah. So hopefully the security clearance is a bigger deal there. And I like that they added the little side missions.
I didn't realize it was there until again, I think chapter 4 or 5. I was like, oh, there's a side mission. That was awesome. I mean, the first one you came across that thing where you're going to scan the tissue sample or whatever, I was like, I must have to come back and drop something in there. And when I finally got it, that was the moment when I realized that it was an actual side mission. I didn't know that.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a nice little addition, kind of fleshing out the issue more a little bit, fleshing out Nicole a little bit instead of just her being Princess Peach.
And it's also just doing story rewards. I mean, sometimes you get like maybe a couple rounds of ammunition or something, but I feel like your reward isn't just like getting more stuff. It is learning more about what's going on the Ishimura. And I actually kind of appreciated that.
Are you talking like the rig pickups?
Rig pickups are new too. Those are where like you find rigs of other people, and those are what you're using to upgrade your rig, right?
Those unlock certain computers.
Oh, is that what it is?
I found a rig. I didn't know what it did.
Because it says Like, you ever notice, like, you come up to some of them and it'll say scan rig to unlock computer?
Yeah.
That's what those are.
Oh.
Is you're finding
okay.
that person's rig that has their password so you can open that up and find out, like, what they were working on.
I'm
But
glad
I
you
never
told
see
me.
them in my inventory.
It's you have to go to, like, special items.
Oh, okay.
Just
like-
doesn't take up a slot.
Yeah, it basically, like, you just downloaded their password.
There was also another side quest to kill a certain number of the Weezers. I don't feel like they were called Weezers in the first game, were they? Those
don't
guys the enemies that like are infected when you're in the what do you call it, where the plants
The
grow?
Arboretum.
No, they don't call it arboretum. It's something tronic.
Hydroponics.
Hydroponics.
Hydroponics. And there's the creatures that are like expelling this toxic gas out. You have to go like inject the stuff into them. She calls them Weezers in this game, and I just don't remember them being called that.
No, I don't remember that. That's about as good as Freakers in Days Gone.
Yeah, right. But anyway, you have to take out 3 of those in order to progress a story. And me being the way that I always play Dead Space games, I don't follow the main path. I always just go the unbeaten path first, and wound up finding like all these other Weezers that I killed or
There's
took
like
out.
8 or 9 of them.
Right. And then by the time I got to the actual one, it said you completed the side mission. Because I had the side mission done before I had the main mission, and I just, oh wow, there's side missions in this game, which is very, very cool. So anyway, I'm about out of notes. I guess that's everything. But I am, Zach mentioned the zero gravity sequence now being like in full 3D instead of just like shooting from one to the other.
Right.
That's something that you take for granted.
Let's say if you've played the sequels, you're already very familiar with, but
Right.
it's nice to see incorporated in the first Dead Space.
Yes. Yes.
Have you guys
Absolutely loving it.
Have you guys run into any necromorphs that accidentally got sucked through the floor?
You mean like a glitch?
Oh yeah,
Oh no, I haven't hit that yet.
that happened like 3 different times.
Oh,
You'll just
really?
see they're 2 like spines just moving through the floor,
Like a shark.
and I'm sitting here. I'm like, and like, oh, quarantine can't be lifted until they're dead. So you have to sit there and like aim and like shoot the shark fin, basically.
I haven't had that. I have had the NPCs like the security guard or the doctor who cuts herself. When their like animations start to load, they go to like the briefest T pose, which I thought was funny.
Yeah.
It's kind of it just it sucks you out for a minute, but that's about the only bug I've run into.
Does it feel to you guys like they are revealing what's going on in this world a lot faster than they did in the original?
Yes.
Yeah, almost obnoxiously.
Like I as a fan of the games, I appreciate seeing a lot of that background information, like in the text logs and audio logs and stuff. But I feel like the Church of Unitology wasn't even like mentioned until something like chapter 7 or 8 in the original.
Well, they won't shut up about the marker, but I feel like that was kind of a mid-game thing, right?
Right. Yeah.
Oh, you mean like the poster in the bathroom that you constantly see the chick holding the marker?
And those posters might have been in the game, but you wouldn't have had context. But like, I feel like 90% of the text logs are like, here is in detail what the marker is and what it does.
Right.
Well, there's a specific reveal about the marker that there is more than one of them. That I was like, how is this in a text log? That's a big reveal when you learn that.
Right. Yeah.
Well, the other thing is, and this is where, for me, remakes and remasters, like harm some of the game content. Is like that poster. If it was in the original one, it's not illuminated. The posters, like some of the posters, if you've noticed, have like their backlit illuminated. So because it's a light source, your eye is like drawn to it.
Yeah, and I wonder if this is your first time playing, because I assume a lot of people playing this, it'll be their first time.
Right.
That might not mean anything, but it also means that when you get to the reveal, it's going to be lessened.
Yeah, I want to talk to somebody that is playing this for the very first time, and after they finish it, I want to ask them about their experience. Like, when did you?
Because we're old. Because that came out 15 years ago, so I'm sure there's a huge amount of people who have not played Dead Space.
Oh yeah, for sure. So yeah, I definitely want to talk to somebody that when they finish it, if they've played it. So, how are you guys feeling about? Last thing I'll say, because we've talked about this for quite a bit. How do you feel about the price point? Because I know $70 for a remake seems a little nuts. Are you okay with the price tag on this one? Does it feel worth it?
Absolutely. Like without a doubt.
Weirdly, I think if you're a big fan of Dead Space, you could probably wait.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think if this is your first time playing Dead Space, it was originally a $60 game and a $70 game. Yeah, I think it's probably worth it. But it's just so. It's $70 is a huge ask for a game you've already played.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what, and it is, I don't know. I guess maybe it is. I'm conflicted. How about that? Because it's not just graphical; it is mechanical, and like I said, the upgrade path is different.
The maps are different too. I mean, you have some of the same landmarks, but getting there is a completely different way that you got there. That's where the second quest analogy I used earlier came from.
So if you're a Dead Space fan and you're on the fence, I do not think you need to rush out and get it.
Okay.
Personally, because I don't think it is demonstrably better than the original. I think your comparison was the best. It's a Master Quest version of it.
Mm-hmm.
And
that looks better.
And I don't know if I would have paid $70 for Master Quest.
Gotcha.
But I also don't care about graphics.
That's true. That's true. All right, that is Dead Space. It is. I think we all pretty much are loving it.
Yeah, for the record, I think it's excellent, and I will be surprised if it is not near the top of my Game of the Year list.
Yeah.
So I absolutely do love it. It's hard for me to recommend it $70 for everyone.
Gotcha. Fair enough. Well, we're going to have the weirdest transition. We're going to talk about another game. David stopped by to talk to us about a game that he's reviewing for us. Vastly different from Dead Space in almost every facet. But let's go ahead and play that for you right now. Well, hello there, David. Long time no see. How you been?
I've been doing well. It's great to be back here.
Yeah.
It's been a little bit.
It has been a little bit, but I'm actually kind of excited to hear you talk about this game. I know it's a complete different game than we just got done talking about, sci-fi horror going into SpongeBob. So we're going to be talking about SpongeBob SquarePants Cosmic Shake, which you're playing on PS4. It comes from developer Purple Lamp Studios and was provided to us by Evolve PR. I got to say, the trailer, there's multiple trailers for this game, but one of the latest trailers of it is actually an adorable trailer. They've got like all these kids talking about it, like the little bits that they've played with it. It looks adorable. It looks kind of fun, but it's also SpongeBob, which drives people a lot of people crazy, with just like the ridiculous humor of it. So the first question I'm going to ask you is: this a game that is just straight up for kids, or are adults going to have fun with it too?
I think kids will obviously have the most fun with it, but any person that is a fan of SpongeBob can get some enjoyment with it. And that's just because it pulls all the nostalgia factor involved with it. I don't know how much SpongeBob have you seen in your days? I know you're a little bit older for the SpongeBob crowd.
I was a little bit older. I've just like episodes here and there. I never like went out and sought to watch an episode of SpongeBob. So I was definitely too old when it came out. Like I was not a kid when it first became popular. So I'm not the target audience, clearly.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I am one of the target audiences because there were so many quotes in there that are from like iconic episodes that you're like, oh, I remember this. Oh, I remember that. Sometimes it was a little forced. There's one, I'm sure you've heard, my leg. That one was like forced into there at some point for no reason. But like, it's still fun. It's still fun to just see that and just pull out the nostalgia factor for me.
So is this like old school platformer, like from like the Nintendo 64 and PlayStation 1 days?
I think that's
the gameplay.
Yeah, so there was a game called Battle for the Bikini Bottom back in like 2003. It plays just like that game. It's a
GameCube game, right?
GameCube PS2, I believe.
Yeah, okay.
And that they just had a remake of that, rehydrated. I played that recently on Switch. This game plays very similarly. You have a jellyfish net that's used for your attack and everything. Bubbles are involved in attacks and everything. Unfortunately, also the game is a little slow. SpongeBob is not the fastest, and I wish there was kind of a sprint button for him. That's maybe a trope for the modern video game, but it would have been nice given how slow he kind of moves.
Okay. I know that my students were chomping at the bit when I told them that we got to review a SpongeBob game, and they were super excited about it. I showed them the trailer. They're jumping up and down. So I feel like the lack of a sprint button thing is not going to be an issue for kids.
No, not at all. I don't think so.
Kids aren't in a hurry, so that could be just like an adult thing. But the thing that stood out to me, and I could be wrong, but it sounds like they got the actual voice actors to do these characters.
If they
are correct?
If they aren't, then the voice actors are amazing. Doing it, I gotta imagine it's the same voice actors. Yeah, they do a great job. Sound just like SpongeBob. The humor is very SpongeBob. The graphics look like what I think a video game SpongeBob would look like. Even they get the squeaking of SpongeBob's feet as he's walking every time, which can be annoying. But it's great, little bit of attention to detail.
How long is this game?
It took me about 7 to 8 hours.
Oh, okay, that's not bad.
No, there's 7 different levels, and each level takes about 45 minutes to an hour.
Okay, so it sounds like you're recommending just as a SpongeBob fan. Maybe not necessarily. You kind of have to be a SpongeBob fan to love it, or do you think there's like someone like me is going to derive some enjoyment from it?
Yeah, I think if you're a SpongeBob fan, you'll enjoy it. It's not really for anybody, especially if you find SpongeBob annoying. Steer clear of this because it is clear and utter SpongeBob. But
I know there's that one laugh that he does, the real high pitch, fast giggle that like just drives people crazy. That la la thing that is that present in this game quite a bit, or do you know what I'm talking about?
It's not.
No,
it might happen like once or twice. It's not.
Okay.
It's not all the time.
Okay. Sounds good, man. Well, thanks so much for checking out SpongeBob SquarePants Cosmic Shake. I guess I should have asked you, what is the story? What is Cosmic Shake? Is that like a shake in terms of like for the restaurant, the Krabby Patty thing? Like a drink shake?
No. So SpongeBob and Patrick talk to this Madame Cassandra who sells them this magic bubbles, and their wildest dreams will come true. Well, of course they don't read what's supposed to happen if you do it. So they're doing it for 3 hours. They're blowing bubbles, making wishes and everything like that. And as soon as 3 hours hits, Patrick looks and says, "Oh, we're supposed to use caution, and no mere mortal is supposed to do it." And all of a sudden, all the bubbles pop, and it creates like all these portals that like create different worlds, essentially like that. And there's like a cave, like there's an episode of SpongeBob as a caveman, and like they create there's a costume that you get to dress up and go in as that. There's like a Western one. It's all really cute. It's adorable, and like I said, it is pure nostalgia.
Awesome. Well, thanks for checking it out, man. As always, it's great talking with you. We'll catch you next time, okay?
All right. Thanks again.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
Thanks so much, David. As always, great to talk to you. Real quick, want to give everybody a quick rundown of where you can follow The Gaming Outsider on all of our social media platforms. First off, facebook.com/groups/TheGoCast. It is our Facebook group where you can join all the conversations, find all our episodes, and all kinds of information, news, everything that I can find that I can put on there for you. Also, our Discord. We've got a good community over there as well. There's a link for it in the show notes. We'd love it if you joined us. And also our website, thegamingoutsider.com. There you'll find, again, all our episodes and all of our written content, and we hope that you check it out. We put a lot of love and time into that. So again, thegamingoutsider.com. With that, let's go ahead and jump into our From the Outside In topic. Obviously, this is a big week for us with the release of the Dead Space remake. CB thought it would be a good opportunity for us to talk about the sci-fi genre in general. Sci-fi, or science fiction games, and movies have held a special place in my heart since I was a kid, and I have to assume the same for CB. I don't think I know anybody that worships the sci-fi genre more than he does. So I thought it'd be fun for us to take a closer look at the genre, why we love it, and some of our favorite titles in sci-fi. So, Zach, I want to start with you because I want to. This is kind of an interesting question because one of our members actually asked this. You know, what defines sci-fi? Does it have to take place in space? Or would you include scientific topics that just don't exist yet? Where do you draw the line? What makes a game sci-fi and not sci-fi?
Yeah, it's a pretty broad category, I would say.
Yeah.
Because you would have to include scientific concepts like time travel and stuff.
Right.
And, I think about so many games in the last several years have been about androids or robots or AI, and those are all sci-fi. But I think taking place in space is way cooler.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a pretty. It's difficult to really nail down exactly what sci-fi is because it can be so many things.
Yeah, I struggled with that too. Like when I was actually trying to put together a list of games, I did a Google search of give me a list of sci-fi video games so I could find ones that stand out. And everything that was on the list, I was like, I never really would have thought of that as sci-fi, but yeah, that should be a sci-fi game. Like, I didn't put it on my list because I felt like it was gonna be a popular answer anyway. But BioShock, like, BioShock doesn't take place in space; it takes place underwater. But I would still consider everything that goes on in that game to be science fiction. Plasmids, Atom. An underwater city. That's scientific.
Right.
That's something we can't do. You know what I mean?
Science is actually at the forefront of BioShock, really.
Yeah, I mean, it was a big part of it. I didn't put it on my list, but it's clearly one of my favorite in the genre. But yeah, like when I started this or when CB suggested this topic, my mind immediately went to space. But I feel like it encompasses so much more than that.
Yeah.
So. CB, you might be the biggest fan, like I said, out of all of us. What is it about sci-fi that appeals to you so much? Why do you love stuff that takes place in space or stuff that centers around science?
Because it's the possibilities.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's the crazy thing. Take any device made after 1990 and take it back 15 years before that.
You blow their minds.
It's like science fiction.
Yeah.
And it's cool because we live in such an interesting time period. Like being born after 1950.
Mm-hmm.
Because the rate at which technology has been growing and expanding and ideas and science scientific discoveries, that line between science fiction and science fact has blurred so much. I mean,
it's funny going back and watching movies or TV shows that have something that was way out there and is now just commonplace. Like this is a random example, but I know Zach will appreciate it. There's an episode of Friends where Monica, in the first or second season, Monica is dating a UFC fighter who also happens to be a millionaire. And they sneak into his house to get something, and he's got a TV phone where you can call and talk to somebody and you can see their face, and they've got a camera, they can see you can see them. And that was that's something only rich people have. Now I've got it in my pocket, guys. It's just
look at movies like Total Recall,
people got 3 parts in real life now.
No, not.
They could. I'm sure.
No,
I'm
total.
Sure it's a whole category.
But where he has the video wall, and he
Yeah.
accidentally calls the one girl and everything. I'm like, that exists now.
Mm-hmm.
Or even what's crazier is that. What I love so much about science fiction is we are at that point where if somebody comes up with an idea, it's usually within 2 to 3 years of it existing in real life.
We're kind of to the point now where it becomes difficult to even come up with a sci-fi topic, right?
Yeah.
Outside of things that we've already explored, like space travel, or terraforming and those kinds of things, which,
Look at the first Iron Man movie.
Yeah.
Everybody was blown away at Jarvis. The smart home stuff. Because at the time, it didn't really exist. Now, you can't, not be near it.
Mm-hmm.
It's everywhere.
That's I'm teaching my class, and my watch goes off when I say something that sounds remotely like Siri.
Yeah, and it's just so bizarre over the fact that, we have crossed that threshold where, somebody's literally, hey, I have an idea. It's a little out there and a little far-fetched. And people are like, screw it, let's make it.
What if we stole all of the art on the internet and then made an AI program that would use that stolen art to produce new art?
Well, that gets into like the scarier parts of sci-fi where like AI is a legitimate thing.
I wish I could use science fiction to time travel and stop all of those people before they ever got started.
But see, that's the crazy thing. If time travel existed, it would already exist.
Right. So I can't look. I'm looking forward to when I'm recruited to stop these people.
But we growing up, like Scott knows, I have an obsession with space travel,
Mm-hmm.
and we were always told like the reason it takes so long is because propellant and fuel and just modern physics at the time, we couldn't figure it out. Now they're actually talking about a new engine that doesn't use fuel, but can make the trip to like Pluto in half the time of the New Horizons probe, if not even like less than that.
Right.
So I'm just like, this is insane, because in my lifetime, I'm going to see us go back to the moon, which we haven't done since, what, 1972? 72 was the last one.
63 was the first one, right?
69. Well, 69 was announced. I'm pretty sure it was 16. Yes, July 1969.
Okay.
Apollo 11.
Go ahead.
But like the fact that we're going to, it's been like 50 years since we've been to the moon. So yeah, 72.
You're right. July 20th, 1969.
I know these things. But yeah, it's been 50 years since we've been to the moon, which for a technology obsessed society or like species that we are, the fact that for like 50 years we're like, screw it, let's just stay here. And rather than like keep pushing farther, and the fact that we're now going to be pushing farther gets me super excited, because what's out there.
Yep. A total sidebar, by the way, CB. If you get a chance, I want you to watch the show For All Mankind. It's on Apple. If you don't have it, I'll loan it to you. I don't want to tell you why it's cool, and if you can somehow avoid knowing what the premise of that show is, they reveal it in the first 20 minutes of the first episode. But I knew what it was going in, and I wish I hadn't. And I think you would appreciate it, and I think you would like that. Yeah,
I mean, you know, I have a weird mindset. Like, if I lost my arm today, I'd be the first person to be like, "Give me one of the metal arms or like robot stuff."
Well, this doesn't have anything to do with that.
I know, but that's where
to do with more 1969 is what I'm talking about, and the moon and all that kind of stuff. So
I'll definitely have to check that out. But yes, that's why it appeals to me. Is it's simply the possibilities, because we don't know what's going to happen, where it's going to happen, how, or even, like I said, the fact that now we've blurred that line where science fiction literally becomes science fact shortly thereafter.
Right. And I think sci-fi for me is very much what you both have said, especially with you talking about forward thinking, CB. But I think that in my mind, the things that I want to exist in the future that would make life easier now. The interesting thing is that I feel like we have a lot of those things now that we craved when we were kids, and it's so common, and it really hasn't helped us as much, and it probably has actually hindered us in many ways. There's a reason that I have an alarm on my phone to remind myself to turn it off for an hour every day. You know what I mean? Like, because it's a problem. So I think that there's something to be said about looking forward of ways to make our life better. And we're still looking at it that way. We're still looking at ways that what can we do to make life simpler, to make things easier, where we don't have to work as hard, but then in the long run it hurts us. You know what I mean?
Oh no,
and that's kind of the whole crux of science fiction anyway. We do all these things that don't make any sense in today's timeline or today's technological world, and it always backfires somehow, right? Look at Terminator. I mean, everything always goes to crap somehow. Otherwise, we don't have a really interesting story.
And yet no one has stopped.
Yep, exactly.
Let's go farther and faster.
Doesn't make any sense to me.
That's one of the reasons why I love the movie Terminator, because it all goes to hell. And it's because of us.
It was a cautionary tale, and no one took any caution from it.
Nope. Not at all.
You think future historians are going to look back and like, they wrote the literature themselves. They warned themselves, and they did nothing about it.
What's scarier is the fact that like the literature that says that kind of stuff was written like way back in like the 20s and 30s.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And people were like afraid of this stuff. And we just like farther, faster.
Well, there's something to be said about generational stuff too. I mean, I feel like the older a person is, the more apprehensive they're going to be about technology in general, right?
I don't know. I'm not that old, and I feel pretty apprehensive.
But there's a difference between being apprehensive and straight up, I'm not touching it. I'm not doing anything that's new. If I'm not comfortable with it right now, if I have to learn something new, I'm not going to have anything to do with it. My dad is a perfect example of that.
Oh, I was like, I've known you for a while, Scott. That's not your mindset.
No, it's my father. My father bought an iPad, and I spent 90 seconds trying to teach him how to navigate an iPad, and he just said, nope, I'm done. Spent like $600 on an iPad and then just never did anything with it.
Oh.
Because he doesn't want to learn anything.
My mom still uses an old flip phone.
So does my dad.
That sounds nice, man. Doesn't that sound freeing, though?
Oh, believe me, my brother gave her an iPhone. And like Verizon was like, hey, your phone, it's so old that it's not going to work anymore. And she's like, oh, I don't care. Find me something that's like this. And Verizon went out and found a flip phone in their catalog that will still work on like 5G networks. I'm like, holy crap.
Wow.
Well, yeah. Does that not sound freeing?
Dude, she loves it.
You'd have to use your brain again. If you couldn't remember something, you'd have to actually engage your brain and remember it.
I don't know, man.
Or just
I'm comfortable with my
control.
Yeah, I'm getting there. I'm so in tune with like just interacting with, community and I actually work on my phone. So, but yeah, I get what you're saying. It does sound freeing just to have a phone for a phone's sake.
Smartphones are like a hell. Like at my job, you have to clock in and out on a smartphone.
Oh, really?
It's like, what if you didn't have one?
We do the same at ours.
The answer is, well, then we couldn't offer you a job here. Wow. That's nuts.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, there are actually quite a few jobs that if you do not have a cell phone, that is a requirement to be hired.
Yeah. I remember, I had a job where a requirement to be hired was to have Facebook.
Seriously?
Yeah. I did not have it because I use Messenger to talk.
Weird.
It was pretty awesome. I told them I was not going to get hired, and then they said, "Okay, we'll make an exception for you." And I felt pretty powerful.
Wow.
And all the people in that office hated me because they would have to actually come over and talk to me. Yeah, it was awesome.
That's pretty funny. Well, let's get into the game side of it and talk about some of our favorite sci-fi games over the years. Again, well, you know what? Here, before we do that, I want to talk about somebody's comment. I think it was Sean Coates' comment, because he kind of brought up the whole, like, what defines sci-fi. He says, it's interesting that this topic seems to only focus on sci-fi set in outer space. He's talking about the picture that I put when I posted this question on social media. It's such a vast genre, I can think of plenty of sci-fi games, movies, and novels that have nothing to do with space. Not that I'm against it. Far from it. Personally, my love of the genre stems from possible futures and seeing how good or bad society can get. This can be traced all the way back to when I saw Back to the Future 2 for the first time and being fascinated by what could happen when we get to 2015. Surely, you could imagine my disappointment. Yeah. Back to the Future 2 is a prime example. I was so obsessed with that movie, guys, when I was a kid. I actually read the book. And when I say book, I'm talking about like a novelization of the movie that I bought like at Scholastic Book Fair when I was in 4th grade or 3rd grade or whatever. Because I wasn't allowed to watch the movie, but I was obsessed with time travel. I read the book. And I used to sit and daydream and all the time about the possibilities of the future and listen to them describe like the Cafe 80s in Back to the Future 2.
Take a Pepsi free.
Yeah, Pepsi free. You want a Pepsi, pal? You're going to pay for it. But yeah, that's the fun of it is this is where we're going to be. Where's our hover cars? Where's
actually side note to that thought,
Yeah.
and just before we move on to the games, do you think that that's a generational thing? Because like growing up, we weren't surrounded by this much technology.
Mm-hmm.
And so for us, like we always had that like what comes next moment.
Right.
Whereas now, like literally somebody thinks of an idea and it gets made. So now kids aren't as excited about that next big thing.
Well, I think that a lot of it has to do with that there's so much to do now. When we were kids, we had to entertain ourselves. And I'm not saying that from an old man standpoint, like when I was younger, you know what I'm saying? But we didn't have 9,000 Netflix shows.
But that's what I'm
and
saying is because we are so surrounded by technology now.
Mhm.
Like the fact that like I'm like sitting in this room right now, I have 4 different ways that I can watch Netflix.
Yeah. You're not
Or
wrong.
like that's so insane to me. Like,
Oh, do you remember there was a commercial on TV? It was for soccer, like Major League Soccer. And there was a commercial of a guy that was so obsessed with soccer that he had a TV in like every room of his house.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
So like he has one in the bathroom. He's folding his laundry. He pulls out the drawer and there's a TV in there, like because he can't not watch the game. And I'm like, that's where we are.
Yeah. Because like growing up as a kid, like I thought it was amazing the fact that I got to have my own TV in my room.
Yep.
But granted, like I only had a VCR on it.
Yeah.
But like now, like in my personal bedroom, I've got like my laptop, my tablet, my phone, my TV.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what I'm saying. Like, do you think it's a generational thing over the fact that like we are literally surrounded by so much technology that it's taken away that dream and drive on like what's going to come in the future because nobody's surprised by it anymore.
So you're saying we're going to have a dip in creativity over the next 20 years?
I think we already are.
Yeah.
Based on the way the education system is in America, that's just inevitable.
Yeah.
Well,
Everyone
I
wants
feel
to
like
think for themselves.
No, they just want to think for Robux rather,
Yeah.
and V-Bucks.
Yeah. So that was
Now
my
I'm the old man.
that was
I
my
never-
slight old man rant for a second.
No, that's awesome. I was thinking about that today. I never thought I would get to the point where I'd be like, dang, these video games are ruining kids. And like, I feel like I'm close, man. I like for reasons that we're
Well,
going to get
they're-
into on a deeper level someday. If you, we had a
Well,
topic we wanted to
As
talk
we've
about.
as we've discussed, the games designed for kids now aren't for any kind of artistic merit. They're designed to extract as much money from them as possible,
Right. That's so
and
sad.
to make them feel bad if they don't play every day and do their dailies.
Yeah,
You know.
that's a good point too.
I remember somebody else getting sucked in by dailies for like over a year.
That was one game.
Yeah, that was one game.
Yeah, yeah. No, there was a second one I did too, but that one was bad. I don't even remember what that game was now, what it was called. But
We're all victim to it, no doubt.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think I spent any money though. That was the thing. I just had to do my dailies. But yeah, and what's funny, you say that. Clearly, when they made video games back in the 80s and 90s and 2000s, the goal was to get our money, right? It was still to get our money. It's just now it feels like it's to squeeze more and more and more after you've bought the game or after you've
Well,
experienced the
it
game.
was to get your money, but now it's literally like, no, you're going to give us all of your money.
Yeah,
Right.
pretty much.
It used to be about earning our money. Now it's about getting our money.
That's a good way to say it. That's a really good way to say it. Okay, let's get into some of the. I feel like we're getting negative, but
Space.
We
the
are-
final frontier.
we are so old, guys. We're old.
We are. Yeah. I mean, again, Dead Space, 15 years ago, guys.
Yeah,
That's so nuts. I'm not joking, dude. I was sitting right there. I'm pointing at where my couch used to be when I was playing the original Dead Space in my basement, in this very house, watching the TV. My TV was right here to my left, and that was 15 years ago. That is so bizarre. That's like half your age, Zach.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Dead Space was half my lifetime ago.
Yeah.
Woof.
Isn't that a sobering
weird.
thought?
That's a weird one.
We are old.
And yeah, Dead Space is obviously on our list. But Zach, what's on yours? You got some other ones?
Well, I mean, certainly Dead Space. This brings a great opportunity to mention for about the 1,700th time, Advent Rising.
Yeah.
This game is a sci-fi bona fide classic space opera. Just a delightful game. I guess it's more space fantasy maybe than science fiction, but this game is incredible. It's an original Xbox exclusive. I don't know if you guys have heard about this game before.
Yes.
But it's great about aliens.
Orson Scott Card.
He helped write the dialogue, yeah. And it's about, aliens finding humans to destroy them, because actually humans were the ancient godlike creatures, and they've been basically pacified over the millennia. Very cool game. Love it. Another original Xbox exclusive sci-fi classic, Breakdown.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you love talking about that one.
Which I've also mentioned, which is the game most in need of a remake ever. It is so good, but it is definitely dated. Lots of long, great corridors, but it's one of the best time travel stories video games have ever produced. It's truly a great time travel story, and there are 2 or 3 twists that when you experience them, they're never going to leave you. And it has that cool thing where it commits to first person the entire time. It never leaves first person, so it's a much like God of War Ragnarok. It's a one-shot game.
Yeah.
The camera never leaves. It never cuts to black. But it's cool. A great game. So those are 2 excellent examples. Of course, Nier Automata is a sci-fi game, but it was one of those ones where I didn't think about it until you really think about the category.
Yeah.
For some reason, even though it's about Android and artificial life, but the story is almost more spiritual to me than science-oriented.
Right, yeah.
So I don't really think of it that way, but sci-fi is so widespread.
And I never thought about it as being that widespread until I started putting this together for this episode. I was like, holy cow, you could put sci-fi, you can label sci-fi.
You could do terrestrial sci-fi, you could do space sci-fi.
Right.
I mean, at some level, magic stuff could even be sci-fi if it had a modern setting.
It's just technology you don't understand yet.
Right. But for whatever reason we put magic in old long time ago, that's fantasy. But when you put it in a modern or future setting, then it's sci-fi. It's just so bizarre to me. It's all sci-fi.
Yeah, well,
fun, isn't it?
I feel like you're stretching it a little bit. But sci-fi games are great. Doom, what a good fun sci-fi game.
Yeah.
That's sci-fi meets supernatural.
Well, okay, which Doom?
2016, I'm thinking specifically.
Okay.
Yeah. Where they lean into the Mars aspect of it, I feel like, more than other Doom games.
Doom 3 did.
That was almost like Dead Space horror.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because I felt like I was playing a little bit of Doom 3 with when you have the flashlight on the plasma cutter.
I did when you had that set up, and then the guys who spit the acid at you, it was like dodging the fireballs from the imps in Doom 3.
Yeah.
So it's funny we both thought of Doom 3.
Yep.
Playing Dead Space Remake. Yeah, tons of sci-fi games. I'm sure the comments will go over more of them.
Okay. CB?
Ooh. Oh, man, gotta stretch.
Yeah, he got about 25 or 30 on his list, probably.
First and foremost, since Zach decided to dig up his every mention, Alien Isolation.
Yeah, I knew that was going to be on there. I'm going to add, because I knew you were going to put that on there, Alien 3 on the SNES and Genesis is a great game. I love that game. It's hard.
It is very hard.
Yeah.
But yes, I still enjoy that game.
It's a great game.
Deus Ex.
Oh yeah, great choice.
Never got into those.
Oh man, I love Deus Ex because it's that whole ooh, look, I can replace parts. Cyberpunk 2077.
Boo!
Shut up! I love that game. I really do.
I have heard more people reach out to me and say, "Dude, you got to play this game. It's actually awesome."
I'm telling you, it's a completely different game.
It is nice when they finish the game 2 years after release. It's really inspiring to see.
I beat it within the first month of it coming out.
I know you did, but you can't ignore the reality of Xbox and PlayStation taking it off of their store.
I know. Half-Life and Portal.
Sure. Half-Life especially.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess Portal definitely is. But
Yeah, Portal is definitely
no, but Half-Life has that dystopian sci-fi, especially the second game. I guess just the second game, but that's an exceptional little story there.
Oh yeah. Control,
Yeah.
where you are definitely starting to blur that line of magic and tech.
Yeah, as I say, I guess it is sci-fi, but with me, I'm like, it's a weird horror game.
But it's definitely very sci-fi.
No, it is. Yeah, I just think of it more supernatural. But no, you're right. I can't deny it. It's just
And
not where my brain goes.
I only have 3 more, so bear with me. First, the Horizon games.
Yeah.
Basically, technology gets too far, like pitfalls of technology. Love that. The Fallout series. So
Yeah.
you have retro sci-fi,
And I
Which-
love that. I feel like they did that a little
Dude,
with BioShock too. Like with the, how they use the old-timey music. You know what I mean?
I think Fallout's, especially like the way the Pip-Boy is displayed and everything,
Mm-hmm.
the way it feels like it's barely functioning fuzzy screen like a CRT.
Mm-hmm.
The Fallout has such a unique style that nothing else could ever really match.
No.
You know?
and it's a great, like, if you pause time at one point and just moved forward.
Yeah. It's just so unique because most stuff can be copied, but if you copied Fallout, it would be immediately
Oh yeah.
you would be immediately like, well, this is a Fallout ripoff. It's
Mhm.
just such a specific style.
Yep.
It's cool.
Yep. And then lastly, a game that is near and dear to my heart, Elite Dangerous.
Oh, sure.
I've not played it. I've heard great things about it.
It is a time sink like none other.
I think Thomas mentioned that actually in our comments, which we'll get to shortly. But
It's just
They introduced aliens eventually to Elite Dangerous, right?
yeah.
Okay.
Not only that, but that is one of the few games out there that will really give you the true depth of how big space really is.
All right. Well, it looks like Starfield's going to try to do that too.
Hope so, because
So
I can't put that on my list yet because it's not out yet. But
no, yeah,
it's going to be on your list.
it'll be on my list.
Like,
Let's not lie.
you've already given that game an 11 out of 10. I mean,
11, more like
Yeah.
20.
yeah. All right, so I got some low-hanging fruit ones, and then I'm going to give you a list of ones that I'm going to ask you guys, is it sci-fi or is it not sci-fi? Because I
Okay.
put them on my list, but I'm like, I don't know if they would be considered sci-fi, but we'll see. My low-hanging fruit ones, Metroid. Love the Metroid series.
Yeah.
Just one of the coolest characters. Even though that spaceship looks like two high-top tennis shoes back to back, I still freaking love it. Star Fox. I was surprised Zach didn't mention Star Fox.
Oh yeah, of course.
Specifically Dinosaur Planet.
Oh, that's the best one. Obviously, we all agree on that.
No, but I mean, like, Star Fox is just like goofy enough that I still cared. Like when you actually like face off against Starwolf and stuff, like I was invested.
Okay,
like it's like,
Here's my thought on that.
okay,
I don't know if I can quite 100% commit to the fact that it's sci-fi.
what? How is Star Fox not sci-fi? They're flying in space with a vehicle that doesn't exist.
How many humans are in that game?
Huh?
How many humans are in that game?
Okay. So in order for it to be sci-fi, it has to have human characters?
Or we've devolved or evolved to that point?
I'm with you, Scott. It's sci-fi.
Thank you.
It's just
I do, but
anthropomorphic sci-fi.
for
There you
me,
go.
it falls into such a weird category.
It's a subcategory, anthropomorphic sci-fi.
that-
Still
there you
sci-fi.
go. Okay.
I'll tell you what science fiction is. Crystal. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my god.
I put the original Prey on my list.
Yeah.
Not the newer one.
yeah. With
I'd
all
put
the
new one
mirror
too.
dimensions and stuff.
Yeah, because that was like
Yeah.
half spiritual, half sci-fi. Wing
You got
Commander.
abducted. It's definitely sci-fi.
Oh, Wing Commander, without a doubt.
Man, Wing Commander 3, I think was the one that had Mark Hamill in it, and
Mark Hamill was a mainstay for that series. He was in like 2, 3, and 4.
was he really?
Yeah.
Did not remember that. And Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, it was like
Nice.
our
Okay.
favorite game of the year that year it came out. How is that not on our list? So
I guess in my head that's a cat that's in the superhero genre, so I didn't.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. I'm not saying you're wrong. It's just in my head. That's where I put it.
Okay, so here are my ones that are like question marks for me as to whether or not they are sci-fi or not. Are you ready?
I'm excited.
Ready,
for this.
kids?
Well, that was earlier.
No.
First one is Contra.
Yes.
No.
Interesting. Discuss.
What? It's just an action shooter. I guess you're shooting machines.
But you have like laser weapons.
Yeah.
So I will say sci-fi because you are fighting aliens.
Yeah.
I guess so. To me, it's a goofy action, but
yeah,
I guess you're right.
It's probably not the top of my list for like sci-fi.
No. These weren't on the top of my list. These are just ones that I want to do, and we're having the discussion I wanted to have. So this is cool.
I will give you Contra.
All right, Mega Man.
Yes.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Okay.
20XX could still happen.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. F-Zero.
Yes.
Oh wow.
And
okay.
And it's awesome.
Okay. I was not expecting that resounding of a yes on that one. My last one is going to be tougher. Well, maybe not. Assassin's Creed.
Oh, without a doubt.
I meant to bring that one up.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that before the show. That's absolute sci-fi.
You're using technology to delve into the past. It's essentially a time travel without actually calling it time travel.
The best part was sci-fi.
Oh, you mean the
Desmond Miles stuff?
Yeah, all the Desmond story and stuff, the present day story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that stuff was good.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like to me that one would have been a no-brainer.
Assassin's Creed, at least for a while, got to have its cake and eat it too, because when you're in the past, it was all just kind of like a period drama where you're a normal person doing only things a human can do. But then you go to the present day and it's this wacky sci-fi adventure. Right. It's pretty cool. They got to have both. It was pretty awesome.
That's pretty good. So that was all I had on my...
Now you're scaling the pyramids in 15 seconds.
And on top of that, when you look at the newer ones where they start to blend the new stuff with the old, like there's specifically like Valhalla where you have the glitches. Where
wouldn't know. You're talking to blank walls here, aren't you?
Yeah, I haven't played Valhalla either.
Man, I'm ashamed of you, Scott.
I don't have 80 hours anymore. I see a game that takes 2 hours to beat, and my nipples get hard.
Again, sci-fi. That's why I created the time hole.
Apparently. Well, let's go see what the community said. Starting on Facebook, CB, why don't you start?
Mark Szymanski. Space can be used as a metaphor for endless opportunity. Yes. I like that answer. It could also be used for the unknown. What is actually out there? Nobody knows. Even in a game, as you drift into space, you don't know what you might encounter. That's where those games work for me. The fear, the opportunity, needing to be constantly aware, get my heart racing and my mind engaged, and you have a fan in me. His favorite space games are Dead Space, getting closer and closer to getting a PS5 or an Xbox Series S because of this game. The original was so awesome. Yeah. Space, Super Mario Galaxy, it can squeeze a Space Mario Galaxy. Super Mario Galaxy, it can squeeze a Mario game into a best of list. I will. Nintendo knows how to make great games.
That's a really interesting pick. Like, it clearly takes place in space. I don't know if I would consider that sci-fi.
But see, and that's where you start to blur that line. I'm like, I don't know if I really, but
great game.
He just wanted to make sure Mario was on the list. That's all.
Yeah.
Because you can't put Link. Space Harrier. Does it hold up as much as any game like it from those days gone by? But this one holds some nostalgia for me, therefore I will include it. You know what? Space Harrier works, man.
Counterpoint to Link, he's fighting robots in Breath of the Wild, sci-fi game.
But they're robots held together by magic.
I don't know if they are. I don't know if did they go into the lore?
Is that established?
I don't think so.
I'd assume it is.
All right.
Weird. It's a weird
Zach,
choice.
Can you go ahead and read the second half of Sean's there?
Right, yeah. Sean Coates writes, as for sci-fi games that I enjoy and keep coming back to that are set either in space or not, Cyberpunk 2077 comes to mind mostly because it's a recent game, various Star Wars games, of course, the Wolfenstein games of the Bethesda era, and Detroit Become Human. Also, is anyone else freaked out by the fact that we've now seen various years come and go that were once depicted as futuristic settings in some of our favorite sci-fi stories? We're now 8 years removed from Back to the Future 2 and 4 years removed from Blade Runner.
Yes, but some of those things in both of those movies exist today.
Some do.
Some do. They kept the rest in the lockbox somewhere.
See, Star Wars, I don't think of for science fiction because it's just so uninterested in the science of it.
See, I just kind of didn't even mention any Star Wars because I just kind of assumed that was going to be like everybody loves Star Wars games, at least at this table.
See, right. But it's so firmly a fantasy first that I don't even think of the science part of it, really.
Yeah, I actually put Star Wars in its own category because it's in a galaxy far, far away, long time ago.
And I know George Lucas would get mad anytime somebody called it a sci-fi. So there is that.
Yeah. So yeah, Star Wars weird subsection of sci-fi crossing into fantasy.
Yeah. Hey, I don't judge anybody if they call it sci-fi, but for me it is just it's a space fantasy first and foremost.
Okay.
They are unconcerned with science in the Star Wars universe. Except for the fans who read those like detailed books where they rip over like, well, this is how the X-Wing's jet propulsion works. But nobody who works on Star Wars seems to care about that stuff.
No, care about making money.
Yeah, that's true.
Moving on to Discord, Brandon Lloyd says, space is simply unknown. A planet can look like anything. Aliens can be anything. It's just fascinating. Things that aren't possible here can be out there. Mass Effect was just amazing. I'm praying Starfield is 3/4 of what Mass Effect was. Mass Effect is probably my favorite, but man, I loved Wing Commander as a kid. XCOM 2 is actually my favorite game since Chrono Trigger. That's sci-fi, LOL. Yeah, hard to argue that. Aliens invade Earth, we fight back and use their stuff against them. Brilliant tactics, my genre. Kind of like that one show, Falling Skies. Ended bad, though.
God, I loved Falling Skies, except that final season was awful.
Yeah.
That's what he said. Ended bad.
Mm-hmm. I know.
It looked good. Show.
All right, CB.
Would you guys consider Lost sci-fi?
Absolutely.
Quintessentially.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's a weird spot for me. So, all right, Paul Hine. I remember buying Wing Commander 1 with my birthday money from Broderbund's software store at the mall and just salivating over the box on the way home.
You remember, like, looking at the manual and stuff on the ride home from the store or the rental store?
Dude, there's a reason I still have some video outlet boxes at my house. Yeah. Just because I'm like, nostalgia.
What's crazy to think about is that, like, you could have potentially been bringing home a game that was going to be worth 5 figures by the time you were in your 30s or 40s.
Yeah. Do you remember the GameStop here at the mall that used to be Babbage's?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I miss stores like that.
And it's just weird that GameStop is just not in the mall anymore. Like the one that was over by the food court is just gone.
Dude, it's weird that mall even is still a mall.
There's a lot of people in there.
There is, but it's getting weird in there, man.
Yeah, it's getting weird. I mean,
it's
malls in general.
Rockford-oriented conversation happening here.
Yeah. Next one up is you, Zach.
Thomas Specs. First of all, dude, you could tell our audience skews older because Wing Commander's getting a lot of love. Broderbund was mentioned at all. So we're not the only old men around here, is what I'm saying. Thomas Bex writes in, I played the original Elite on the C64 and it was such an amazing experience. 6 massive galaxies to explore. It really sparked my imagination. Sci-fi always does. It's also my favorite book genre. I played the hell out of XCOM 1 Enemy Unknown when it came out. My love for sci-fi has never gone away and we are now living in a new golden age, it seems, with Marvel, Star Wars, and Star Trek all available in abundance, and other gems like The Expanse, Battlestar Galactica, Mad Max, and much more that are also around and spawning off great games too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna give you Mad Max.
You like Mad Max?
No, I love Mad Max. I'm not gonna give it a sci-fi.
That's just a straight post-apocalyptic dystopian.
Yeah. If anything, it's it's more about climate disaster than anything scientific.
Yeah.
Well, climate disaster is science.
Yeah. Well, it's our fault, obviously. But
Last one comes from Alan Scheck. He says, hot take, but space is so much cooler in concept than in reality. Not a complete hater. Still love my sci-fi. Still love occasional space exploration, but more for the tech and the possibilities. Looking for that realistic space experience, I donned my VR headset and hopped into Elite Dangerous. It felt so real and was a lot of fun for a few days, but I quickly came to the unfortunate realization that most of space is an empty void, and most of what's not empty is rocks. Two of the best spacefaring sci-fi series, Star Wars and Halo, spend a great deal of time not in space, in environments that very much resemble different parts of Earth. That's a really good point.
Yeah. Well, like I said, Elite Dangerous is one of those games that does a really good job of giving you scale on how big space really is.
Yeah, that's the thing that we never get, even in the movies. We never really see like how far everything is, because there's always like, oh, we're going to go to cryosleep, for 14 years.
It's the power of video games. You get to actually experience it.
Oh, that's when people get me like on science talk and everything, like that's one of the first, like, why do you like space? And I'm like, okay, this basketball is Earth. Like, how far away do you think the moon would be? And they're sitting here like, they hold it like 4 or 5 inches above the basketball. And I'm like, no, man, you're not even close.
Yeah, I think
like
the vastness is
4
what makes
feet
it
away.
so. The vastness is what makes it so interesting to me.
Right.
The idea that every star you see in the sky is a sun. What? That's crazy to think about.
Yep.
Every time I think of like space, I think of Carl Urban from Star Trek. Like, it's disease. I can't remember the exact quote, but the whole, like, it's death and disease wrapped in like nothing.
Right. There was a comparison video I actually showed my students where they show like all the planets in our solar system, and then they keep slowly
Expanding
zooming
out.
out to show you like how big the sun is in comparison to everything. And then if that doesn't blow your mind enough, then it just keeps going out and out and out, and they show you like the size of these black holes, and like my mind can't even fathom how large one of those celestial objects are, much less space in general. And that's only what we've been able to see. You know what I mean? It's just, there's so much out there.
Yeah.
It just really makes you feel, I mean, I know that was like a Men in Black thing, but it just really makes you feel insignificant in the grand scheme of things. We think we're so important here. And
Puts a whole new perspective.
I'm speaking generally.
Right.
But, well, CB, thanks for the topic, man. That was a lot of fun. And especially with the, with Dead Space being here, it was a lot of fun to talk about that and chat that game too. But that is going to do it for this episode of The Gaming Outsider. Thanks so much, everybody, for listening. The episode is produced by Kevin Honigford, and all the music that you hear in the episode is written and performed by Grant Henry of Stemmage and Metroid Metal. His website is stemmagemusic.com. Zach, do you have any parting words or recommendations before we get out of here?
I saw Puss in Boots: The Last Wish last night, and the hype is real.
It's good, huh?
That movie's great.
Yeah.
It's got one of the best movie villains in years, that guy.
Really?
The wolf?
I haven't seen it. I don't.
Oh man, yeah, he is exceptional. And it's got like a genuinely great character arc for Puss, where he learns to appreciate people. I am blown away by how good that movie is, and it's animated brilliantly. It does that little the half frame thing that Spider-Verse did, but it has this painterly art style where everything looks like it's hand painted.
Oh, nah, nice.
So it's a gorgeous art style, and it's just, the story is great, and it's genuinely funny, and it seriously has one of the hardest movie moments, like just one of the most like genuinely badass moments in a long time. It was so, I couldn't believe it was like, I was like, this cat's hard, man. Like he's ready to go. It's pretty cool.
Was it still Antonio Banderas?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah, he's great. How could it be? And Puss in Boots is just Zorro, so I mean, it's just not much of a stress for him. He even cuts a pea into people's clothing.
Yes, he did that in the old games too.
Well,
or old movies, rather.
I'm sure he did in a game too, but yeah, I hate Shrek, but man, do I love Puss in Boots.
Nice.
I thought the first movie was good too, but this movie is, it's one of the best animated movies I've seen in a good long time.
I've heard that the action sequences, the way they animated it is really good. I don't know why, but everyone talks about that.
There's just so much energy in the way the camera moves with such a energy. There's just such a sense of love for what's happening. You could tell that people. This was made out of love, not for dollar.
Nice.
Which is cool.
CB, how about you?
Two quick ones. First off, I saw a new movie. I saw Megan.
Oh, I want to see it.
It's rough.
It's rough? I heard it was good.
It's definitely it's creepy, but there's a few scenes that like really take you out of that movie, and you're kind of like, why?
They're already making a sequel.
I know. Oh, believe me, the final shot, you can tell, like, oh yeah. Plus it's Blumhouse, they like to do that kind of thing. But also because Zach is like my fellow Star Wars nerd, I recently started watching The Bad Batch.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen that yet.
The first season, great. Second season, getting better.
Cool. That's great.
So,
it's great to hear.
It's fun. Little cross pollinations that you see here and there between the original series too is crazy. Seeing more Tarkin.
Oh, okay. Oh, you mean like the original movie series?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's definitely some cool moments, plus a few people from Rebels that show up.
Yeah, I figured.
So Rebels,
Star Wars, the
Rebels
smallest
and,
universe.
Rebels and Clone Wars. So, but I'm enjoying it. So I had to find something to fill the void now that I'm done with the High Republic. So.
Great books.
Speaking of, I did pick up the first book of that, Zach. I think I asked you if I was picking up the right one. I haven't started it yet because I had a couple other books I needed to finish first. But I am working through a book that was actually a recommendation from CB. It is BioShock and Philosophy.
Ooh, good one.
Which, have you listened to it or read it?
Yeah.
It's kind of fascinating. It really makes you think about BioShock and BioShock Infinite in a completely different light. It's a very intellectual book, and like they do the talk about like allegory of the cave and stuff like that, and I'm just kind of fascinated. There was one chapter that I just kind of
yeah,
I think you know what I'm talking about.
In that series, there's a few that like because the in Philosophy series, like there's like almost 100 of them.
Yeah. This is basically a collection of short essays. Like each chapter is like a different philosopher that is using BioShock as a springboard for a point that they're trying to make. And it's really interesting. And just like with the Zelda philosophy book that I read, I wanted to jump back into Majora's Mask. I really want to go back and play some BioShock again, but that's not going to happen. But interestingly enough, though, I've never read Atlas Shrugged, and because obviously BioShock is based on Ayn Rand and that book, and that's a novelization of a philosophy. Like I've never read it. I think that would be a really fascinating listen. I went and looked at it. It's a 62-hour book, guys.
It's nothing to scoff at. Like
I was like, I don't know if I want to listen to a book for that long. Like that's like and it was only 1 credit on Audible still. So I don't know if I'm going to do that. That might have to be a summer one or something, because that is, holy cow. I did Game of Thrones for 42 hours, and I thought that was a lot, but 62 hours.
That one actually comes up on the free list every now and then.
Does it?
Yeah, just because it's a big one.
I had no idea that book was that big. Just kind of nuts, but anyway, BioShock and Philosophy is a fascinating read, and I would highly recommend it. So, really digging I'm working through like an audiobook a month at least, and I'm just still doing that train. I'm enjoying that more than podcasts even. So, plus it keeps me from listening to other podcasts that I'm always comparing ourselves to other podcasts. So, kind of cool doing that. But anyway, that's it for us. CB, thanks so much for being here. Zach, thanks for making us whole. Until next week, I am Scott Clark with Zach Parkerson and Chris Behrensmeyer, and we are The Gaming Outsider. And remember, there's no such thing as a bad game, just games that aren't for you.